Defense made a motion for a mistrial. Prosecutor was up to some fuckery. Potentially damaging evidence, no basis for it. The judge specifically said, do not ask that question. Do not use that as evidence. She walked right down the path and asked the question. It may be over on Tuesday morning. Batman Bruce Wayne bitch snitch. Gerald Brooks, your constitution does not apply to me because I'm a sovereign citizen, a traveler on the land. I'm the Moorian Empire or whatever, bitch snitch. Because they're so fucking absurd. If you want to be a sovereign citizen, just do yourself a favor first. Go to YouTube here and just get every thought of talk.
We are on the record. 20.
We're cutting the introduction live because the court is going right in session. So let's get right to it, people. That as soon as they start, they decide they're not going to start. Anyway, that was a cold open. All right. Well, court's now in session, and then they went straight to the Great Seal. So, good morning again, afternoon for those of you in the States. We'll see what's going on here. All right. Well, that gives us some time. Welcome. We are back for the afternoon session of day 3, where hopefully Sarah Boone will be testifying. She was supposed to testify at around 10 a.m. Eastern time this morning, but for reasons they kept getting delayed. The defense said they need about 30 minutes of cross-examination of the police officer before they got into her testimony, but apparently that has turned into something altogether different because they kept finding new things to talk about, new arguments to make, new things had to be done. They had to take a break. Then Sarah needed a comfort break. Then they had to take a break for a long time while he explained what testifying in her own defense would mean for her. Then the judge had to explain it all. Then the defense wanted time to look at the suitcase, and they wanted time to look at the baseball bat, and then they wanted an early lunch. And so here we are. We're waiting for them to come back and to start this all over again. I thought we were doing it there, so I cut the introduction short, but nope. All right. Well, that leaves us with some time here. So in that time, we want to make a super special thank you to Angel, Australia member, for 13 months. As now I can say I'm 13 months clean and sober. Okay, that's fantastic. You're 13 months of the clean and sober crew. It's why are these not showing? I think they're not showing. Wow, that was interesting. Hi, welcome back. Not sure what that was all about. Let's bring the court back up. Huh. All right. My screen just decided I wanted to refresh. Yeah, now we can show things. All right, we got the court down there. They're live. Huh, that was weird. Angel, we were just saying that you can now say you're 13 months clean and sober. I see what you did there. You're only taking me 13 months. What's up? Remember, for 13 months, Angel Australia has also gifted 20 legal vices memberships. Dang. That's very, very, very kind of you. Thank you so much. Even before I get here. Audio is bad again? Oh, my Lord. Nothing is easy. Nothing is easy. Let me quickly bail out of this and...
We're back on the record. Case number 2020 CF 2603, State of Florida versus Sarah Boone. Let me get appearances for the state.
All right, we're back. Right. I have no idea how the audio is. Just StreamYard booted me twice and then made me reboot. Sorry, I have no idea what the hell that was about. Good. My audio's fine. I was just listening to myself there. Quickly bringing up law and crime. That was a StreamYard thing. That wasn't a me thing. I was all prepared. Hang tight. Law and crime. We are almost there. Apologies. StreamYard was being a nuisance. All right, here we go. Share that screen. Move that over there. And I will do everything else backstage while we wait here. Bring that up.
They were together 3.5 years. They were.
And let's find out what we've missed. At 1.25 speed, we'll catch up to what's going on here real quick. Catch up to where they start talking.
Seated at counsel's table, wearing the same black jacket and blue blouse from this morning. We will be standing when our jury enters. She is in custody, but out of any restraints.
We're only 3 minutes behind.
First, once we bring in our jury, she will walk to the jury box and be sworn in front of the jury. State, we're ready to bring in our panel.
Yes, Your Honor. I will get the redactions done. I put a disc on Mr. Owens' notebook there. Has the case number on it and 3 black dots and Sharpie, just so that I'll bring away saying what it is.
Excellent. Appreciate it. Thank you for getting that done over the lunch hour. Defense, are we ready to bring in our jury?
I've got a couple of issues.
Yes.
Oh, of course you've got issues.
Number one, Kevin Beck is working laundry.
For the record, reflect that Mr. Beck has appeared.
For the record, I'd like to make 2 points about this issue, about whether or not I can bring in evidence of prior bad acts prior to the overt act. And there's 2 reasons that I believe I should be allowed to do so. One is, Judge, in that 2-minute video, Sarah Boone makes a statement, "That's how I feel when you choke me." And then some moments later, "That's how I feel when you cheat on me." And she's angry at him, and she's talking to him. She's talking to him in an intoxicated state, and she's expressing her anger and why she is angry. And I ought to be able to elaborate on what that is that she's angry about as it relates to when you choke me. That's my first motion.
Okay.
The second one is, Judge, on this.
Before you proceed with the second, is the second intertwined with the first?
No, I mean, it's a similar argument, but related to something else.
Okay, response.
Judge, I don't disagree that they should be able to bring that in once they've established an overt act that is imminently dangerous to an objectively reasonable person. I believe that's the law.
Any other further arguments, sir?
Not on that issue.
Motion's denied. Court, again, is going to rely on the Supreme Court's guidance in these situations based on Holland 916-7-2-750 at 1.760 through 761.
My second argument ties into what he just said about what a reasonable person would do under the circumstances facing an imminent threat, whether a reasonable person would perceive the overt act on the part of George Torres that was witnessed by Sarah Boone. Would that be perceived by someone as a imminent threat? And to some degree, you have to understand the history of George Torres and Sarah Boone. They were together 3.5 years. They were engaged, but there had been a history of violence. And from the evidence that's been presented, facing the circumstances in total, if you take what she said at various times, you would understand that she became concerned when he came back from Publix with that second bottle of wine, because she knew when George Torres gets to a certain level of intoxication, he gets sad, he gets moody, and eventually he gets belligerent, and sometimes he can be violent. So she knew when he brought home that second bottle of wine that it was not going to be a good night. And she tried to keep him occupied and tried to keep his mind off of his troubles, because she knew that if he reaches a certain level and is dwelling on his hardships, that he will react to her in a violent way. So she had that state of mind with that understanding of her history and his history in his overt act, which she's going to testify to, coupled with the fact of her state of mind based on her past experiences with him in that intoxicated state and the fact that he is violent. So she was hypersensitive to danger and fear. And I think that ought to be allowed in as part of her collectively an overt act. So it was culminated by his state of intoxication coupled with his overt act created the well-founded fear for her to block the attack, to self-restrain or physically restrain George Torres in the suitcase, to actually use the bat to prevent him from getting out of the suitcase because she knew she was going to get attacked.
And the basis of the opinion of about to be attacked is predicated on the prior incidences of violence, correct? Based on
Well, there's an overt
knowledge.
act committed by George Torres, but she was heightened because she knows when he gets to that level of intoxication in that scenario, and that's an issue.
So I need clarification. What is it that you're asking me to do?
For me to be able to elicit from Sarah Boone that she was concerned once that second bottle was brought, and that's why she tried to placate him over the course of the evening, and that's why she had a heightened sense that he was capable, Judge, due to his degree of intoxication, that he may act violently towards her. And the problem is, a lot of the problem is, Judge, he doesn't remember battering her the next day. That's part of the reason that she videotapes him and photographs him. She starts to document what happens so that she can show him. She loves the man. She adores the man. She wants to marry him. She wants a life with him. But she's tired of being beat on. And so that all ties into her behavior, her sense of nervousness at that point. The reason she was so confident during that 2-minute video is because she knew, okay, this is my chance. He can't get to me. I can tell him exactly what he does that bothers me, that hurts me, and how I feel. And so that's all tied together with then he starts to try to get out of the suitcase, and she reacts the way she does.
Response.
Bull. She repeatedly said, "Oh, I let him out. I let him out. We were having a great time."
The court has ruled there are no new arguments being made. The court understands exactly what Sarah Boone, the defendant, said to Dr. Werner on October 2nd. The court knows exactly what the defendant said to Dr. Harper over the period of a number of months and years, and there was no overt act. The overt act has to be something that is objectively reasonable to cause a reasonable person to believe there's an imminent fear of great bodily harm or death. What the testimony is not that that's what has occurred, that there's her new testimony is this generalized fear, but you've already read that and you've already ruled on that. And I'll just remind the court that her previous testimony is, it's all fun and games, we're laughing, I zipped the suitcase shut, we're still both laughing, it's funny, and then the decedent says, I can't breathe, and then she flips a switch, gets angry because it reminds her of all the times before where she is asserting that the decedent made her feel like she couldn't breathe. And then that's when she starts beating and shuffling the suitcase so much that it flips over and hitting him with the bat. And we've covered this ground. Aggravated assault, aggravated battery, 2 independent forcible felonies. She's committing false imprisonment. She is the initial aggressor after there being no overt act. She can't start it and then say, well, I'm in fear of retaliation, because that's what her testimony was. Is once I started doing these things, once I wouldn't let him out of the suitcase, I was afraid he would come out and harm me or kill me. Well, Judge, If I pull a gun on you and I say, give me everything you own on you right now, and then you in turn pull a gun on me and say, bam, 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 and shoot and kill me, and I shoot, let me strike that. You pull a gun on me to defend yourself, and then I shoot and kill you. I can't assert self-defense. I can't say, well, Judge Kranick pulled a gun on me and I was in fear of death, because I was the initial aggressor. I was committing a forcible felony. That's the facts of this case here, according to her previous testimony. And the state concedes if she wants to change her testimony again, that's one thing, and then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But if she testifies as she previously has, the court has already ruled there's no overt act, and you've read the transcripts. You know what she has said.
She hasn't testified. She hasn't testified. Dr. Harper's testified. Dr. Warner's testified.
They have not testified. They've given depositions.
Well, given depositions, but she hasn't testified about the act in question. She hasn't testified about the event in question. She had consultations and evaluations by Dr. Harper where they had discussions that Dr. Harper could relate in her testimony. Dr. Warner can say what was said during the evaluation. Again, both of those were not reported. There may be disputes. I disagree with his characterization of that assessment, but it's up to Sarah to tell the truth here today. She's under oath. She's under oath today. She's got an obligation.
That's what we're waiting for.
If he thinks she's made prior inconsistent statements, it's up to him to impeach her with those inconsistent statements.
To the extent that you are requesting permission to go into presumably and seemingly prior bad acts, vis-a-vis, he got the wine, and I know what happens when he gets it, and everything that follows from that. Those are bad acts. That is character. And the Florida Supreme Court has provided guidance and circumstances, specifically in Holland, on what needs to be done. You're attempting to provide information that the defendant was apprehensive of the victim at the time of the homicide by virtue of the wine, et cetera, as you've proffered. That's bad character evidence that you're going to be bringing in. Historic bad character evidence. This is what happens when he drinks. This is what happens when I don't placate him. This is the situation that I find myself in, which inevitably may dovetail into prior incidents of abuse. That's all prohibited character under 404, 9404. And the carve out for that is if a overt act is established. It's not a subjective standard. It's an objective standard. The jury instruction 3.6F identifies it being an objective standard, and the Akendo case specifically tells us that it's an objective standard. And Akendo, the second DCA in 2023 stated the conduct of a person acting in self-defense is measured by an objective standard, but the standard must be applied to the facts and circumstances as they appeared at the time of the altercation to the one acting in self-defense. I'm going to rely on Holland. Holland is the law of the land. It is what the Supreme Court has told us to utilize. That's what I will be relying on. The overt act has to be established.
Ms. Boone, do you understand that?
I do.
Okay. Anything else?
We cannot talk about any prior bad acts or anything of that nature until we talk about the actual event, the attack. Correct? You understand?
Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, State?
Okay.
Defense, anything else, sir? All right, let's go ahead and stand and bring in our jury.
Oh, my Lord. Here we go. Let's catch up to the case here.
You can call your first witness.
The defense would call Sarah Boone.
All right, ma'am, you can take a seat.
Tell the jury where you were born and raised.
Atlanta, Georgia.
You were born in Atlanta?
I was born in Atlanta.
And how long did you stay in Atlanta before you moved here to Florida?
I was 3 years old, 3 or 4.
Okay. And from that time, y'all moved, you and your family, your mother and father, moved to Orlando?
And my grandparents.
Okay. Y'all all moved down from Atlanta down to Orlando?
Yes, and my 2 brothers.
Okay. And were you raised here essentially from that time on?
Yes.
And you resided here in Orange County, Florida that entire time?
Yes.
Okay. And did you go to high school here locally?
I did.
Where did you go to high school?
Edgewater.
Okay. And tell the jury, how old were you when you graduated?
I was 18 years old.
Now, I know you lost your mother and father.
Overruled.
I know you lost your mother and father in your teens and in your 20s. Is that true?
I lost my grandfather when I was a sophomore in high school, and I lost my father when I was a senior. And then my mother passed away a few years after that, and then my grandmother passed away after my mother died.
Right, so you were in your 20s when all that was going on?
Yes,
Okay. And then at some point in your 20s, you met Brian Boone?
I did, yes.
All right. And how long did y'all date before you married?
A good handful of years. I helped my family with paying mortgage and bills for the house since my father had passed away and my grandfather. So
So you worked outside the home?
I did.
Okay. Can you tell the jury when you said you and Brian Boone dated for a while? Do you remember when y'all married?
I do.
Could you tell the jury when y'all were married?
The year?
Yeah. Do you remember the date?
It happened to be, yes, that after my mother passed away, that he had waited to ask me to marry him because he knew it would be,
Sustained.
Just answer the question if you can, Ms. Boone. Are you a little bit nervous?
Uh-oh.
Okay. Well, just tell the jury if you remember the date that
Just
you and
the
Brian
date
Boone
you were
married.
married, Sarah.
August 21st, 2004.
Okay. And had y'all lived with each other for a short time before that?
Short time.
Yes. Okay. After you married, how long was it before y'all had any children?
Gosh, 6 years?
Okay. And y'all have one son.
Yes.
What's his name?
Lucas.
And how old is Lucas now?
Lucas will be 14 years old on the 28th.
28th of this month?
Yes.
Okay. So you and Brian were married and y'all lived in Orange County. How long were y'all married?
For 13 years.
Right. And y'all divorced?
Yes.
And as part of the divorce, were y'all to share custody of your son?
Yes.
And so y'all would split days? Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
At some time after you and Brian split up, did you meet George Torres?
Yes.
All right. Could you tell the jury how you met George Torres?
I met George when I decided to buck up, I guess, and was tired of trying to patch things up with my ex-husband. And I decided to go one day for a walk across the street and go have a beer by myself and sit and people watch just to get out of my house and a change of scenery.
All right. Now, is this your apartment?
No, this is the marital home.
Okay. Where is that marital home?
Winter Park?
You're no longer living in that marital home?
No.
Who lives in the marital home?
No one. It has been sold.
Okay. So you met George Torres before you got the apartment?
Yes.
Okay. And you met him at a bar across the street from the marital home?
Yes, we had a mutual friend there.
Were you introduced?
Yes.
All right. How did you and George get along when y'all first met?
Very well. It was strange how quickly we hit things off and had so much in common. And I never thought that he would be interested in someone like me. And
she's going to start talking about bad things first when she shouldn't.
Just couldn't believe that he was actually interested in me and said a lot of nice things. And 1 hour ended up being 4 hours from when we had first met. And then we would always have something to talk about.
Why couldn't you believe that he would be interested in you?
He was very handsome. He was very funny. He was smart, and I would show up in workout clothes and disheveled hair, and I guess I kind of felt broken from being in the process of the divorce that he knew about. But then one of the things that we could relate also was the fact that he was here in Florida because he had just been divorced from his second wife. So that was another topic that he and I could compare notes on.
So eventually the divorce was settled. Did you get your own place?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that at first you lived in your parents' home, correct?
Yes, until I was married.
And then you moved directly in with Brian.
Yes.
And then y'all lived in the marital home, correct?
Yes.
And then you got this apartment.
Yes.
So that was the first time in your life that you actually had your own place.
Yes.
And what was the address?
4748 France Court, apartment number 3.
And what city is that in?
It's in Winter Park.
How far is that from here?
20 minutes.
Okay. So you got that apartment, and initially were you by yourself?
No.
All right, tell the jury.
In the almost year, about 10 months of separation from Brian, my ex-husband, that is the time when I met George. And my ex-husband was trying to buy me out or force me out of our marital home, and I needed to find somewhere to live. And
so did you and George agree to rent the apartment?
yes, I needed extra income. We could not afford it, just on my own.
You were receiving some income from the marriage settlement, were you not?
Yes,
So you did have consistent monthly income coming in from the marriage settlement,
for the most part, yes.
but you needed more to live.
Yes, to pay the bills and for rent.
So did you and George have some agreement?
We did.
All right, what was the agreement?
The agreement was that if I decided for he and I to live with one another, because it would be under my name, that he would help with the monthly bills and on a regular basis, where it wouldn't be something that I would have to argue with him about. It would just be an automatic. Make sure that everything's paid first, and then from there, hopefully have some fun with it.
Okay. And so I understand from that point on, would it be fair to say that y'all saw each other on and off for about the next 3.5 years?
No, I would consider us a couple.
Okay.
At some point, he asked me to marry him.
Okay. But y'all did have times where he left and went to live with his parents?
Yes,
Is that fair?
yes,
And there were times where there was an understanding that y'all were going to break up?
multiple times.
Okay. All right. So, again, on again, off again.
Yes, this was actually before we had our apartment. That was, I guess, our dating phase.
Okay.
It was not on again,
So
off
y'all were
again. It was
together
on
for
again, off
3.5
again.
years. Is that fair?
Yes,
And y'all had actually agreed to marry?
he had asked me yes a couple of times to marry him, and one time I agreed yes.
Okay. Now, I want to get directly to the date of this event so that the jury can hear your testimony. All right. So tell us, I believe the date is February the 23rd of 2020. Explain to the jury that whole day, from the time y'all got up, the whole thing.
Approach.
All right. Well, for those of you keeping track on your bingo cards, we've got dog cam, baseball bat, and judge calls for sidebar. Okay, so far her lawyer's doing a good job of keeping her in check. She wandered a little bit. He brought her back. You got her to answer the questions. No, we haven't. Have we talked about suitcase and wine yet? Yeah, we have. Suitcase and wine. Yeah, before she got on the stand.
Objection's overruled for now.
Now, Ms. Boone, let's just.
And dog
instead
snores.
of one long speech, let me break you up over the course of the day. So, do you remember the date of February 23rd, 2020?
Yes,
Do you remember getting up?
yes.
All right, just tell the jury about that morning. What y'all did that morning. What you and George spent the night together at the apartment.
Yes, at that point, he was living there.
Yes. So y'all slept in the bed together upstairs. February. So y'all had gotten up that morning, February 23rd of 2020.
Yes.
All right. Tell the jury what happened when y'all got up.
He was already downstairs, and I went downstairs, and he wanted to start the day off by drinking because it was a day off from his job. And I talked him into cleaning and tidying up the house for a sense of accomplishment. So that is what we did for however long that it took. So we did tidy up the house and got everything in order, and it was kind of a reward, I guess, to be able to sit and enjoy ourselves and sit on the back porch.
All right. What do you mean by cleaning up the house? What did y'all do?
We swept and mopped. We folded some of the laundry. I know that we did the dishes, emptied the dishwasher, just general run-of-the-mill tidying up.
And did you have your son coming the next day?
Yes, that was one of the reasons why we were able to do that.
What was the arrangement you had in terms of the next day would have been your day to pick up your son from school?
Yes,
What time would you pick Lucas up from school the next day?
I believe his school ended at 3:00.
Okay. So you would have been responsible to pick him up and he would be spending the night with you that night.
Yes,
So you wanted to have the house nice and clean.
yes,
How many bedrooms are in the home?
2.
And you and George had one bedroom?
Yes,
And who had the other?
Lucas.
All right. Is that exclusively his bedroom?
Yes.
All right. So how long would it have taken y'all that morning to clean?
I don't really remember what time we woke up, but maybe a good 2, maybe 3 hours.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that you and George both smoked cigarettes?
Yes,
And would it be fair to say that you and George both drink alcohol?
yes,
So at some point, y'all finished your chores,
yes,
right? And then y'all were going to enjoy the day.
yes.
All right. What was the plan?
It was just kind of, we've got the day to ourselves. Let's just kind of relax and go with the flow.
All right. Did y'all make a decision that y'all were going to start drinking?
Yes, we had a half of a bottle that was already in the refrigerator, and I did not want to go out afterwards. I, again, had Lucas coming the next day, so we went over to Publix to purchase another bottle of wine, so we could not have to go out later on that evening.
Now, you were here in court when the state played the video of you two and the Publix purchasing the bottle of wine.
Yes,
Is that what you're referring to here with the jury right now?
yes,
Okay. And that was around noonish?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Had y'all started drinking the leftover bottle before going to the Publix?
No,
Okay. So y'all bought a bottle of wine?
yes,
All right. And how did y'all get to Publix?
my car.
How far is Publix from your apartment?
5 minutes.
How would you get there from your apartment?
What do you mean?
Did you have to go across any major highways or is it right there?
You just come out of our apartment complex and you do a little U-turn and then you come up and it's right in that complex.
Okay. But it's easier to drive than to walk.
Yes,
Okay. Now I know at sometimes y'all would simply need cigarettes and it was in walking distance. Can you tell the jury about that?
yes. There was a AutoZone convenience store with in the same, I guess, parking lot of our townhome, our complex, and it was just a straight shot from our apartment to a back gate, and you could get right into the convenience store from right there.
Okay. But y'all went over to get that bottle of wine around noonish. And how did you took your car?
Yes,
Did George have a vehicle?
we did not.
And how did you pay for the wine?
With my debit card.
And then y'all came back and started drinking?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us what you did when you got back from the Publix.
Just went on the back porch where we usually spend our time because we're able to smoke cigarettes outside as opposed to inside. And
Is cigarette smoking not allowed indoors?
it is not.
Okay. Do you have pets?
Yes, I do.
Or did you have pets?
I did, yes.
Okay. Were they with y'all there that day?
Yes, my dogs were with me all the time when I was there.
How many dogs do you have?
I have 2,
And just what are their names?
Penny and Tess.
And what is the breed?
They are red Boston Terriers.
And are they both disabled?
Yes, Penny is
Aw, she
blind.
cares for disabled
and Tess
dogs.
is deaf.
Deaf and a blind dog. Oh,
So when y'all went out to smoke
let her go.
on the back porch and drink, I assume as well, correct?
Yes.
Did y'all take the dogs out?
Oh, yes.
All right. Is there a place for them to do their business out there?
Yes, I extended our back porch for them to have a little bit of area as opposed to going from a large back yard from my marital home to our little townhome. And they would come out there and do their business, and I would open the gate and then walk them in the back part of our apartment.
So you and George were just going to enjoy the day together?
Correct.
Is it fair to say y'all don't have a lot of money?
Yes.
And so y'all were going to do something there in the home? Y'all weren't going out for dinner or?
Yes, I would consider us homebodies as opposed to going out and partying and doing this and that.
Okay. And how long do you think y'all were out that afternoon outside?
A few hours.
All right. Could you tell the jury what y'all did during that time?
We have a dartboard that's out there, and we just had drinks and we're just really enjoying each other's company and talking about, things upcoming. We both were looking for a job and just kind of, I guess, encouraging and supporting and planning. And
Well, now you said he had a job. Was he looking for a job, a second job?
no, the job that he had was very unstable. And at that,
So he was looking for something new.
yes, at that time, yes.
Okay. And so during that 2 or 3 hours, would it be fair to say that y'all drank the bottle?
Yes.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that y'all were feeling the effects of the alcohol?
Yes,
Okay. At some point, who made the decision to come in?
I did.
Okay. Why did you want to come in?
I felt that George needed a change of scenery.
Okay. So y'all came in, and then did y'all do anything else before he left again? Were y'all doing anything? I know y'all did some arts and crafts. What did y'all do? At some point, he went to get another bottle at Publix.
Yes. I believe it was after it was right before I believe that we had gone inside. Because he called his daughters. I was trying to encourage him to call his family.
Okay, now where are his daughters?
His two daughters are located in Pennsylvania.
And what are their names?
Anna and Destiny.
And how old are they?
I believe that Anna is in her 30s and Destiny may be in her early 20s.
All right. Does he have any more children?
Yes, he has a son.
And where does his son live?
He is in Pennsylvania also.
Okay. So part of that afternoon is y'all came in to call relatives, call family.
No, I had him call outside, just trying to, I guess, boost the mood. The first daughter didn't answer, and I don't remember the reason I didn't speak to the second one. I believe he did. It was just for a moment.
All right. Now whose phone we are using?
My phone.
All right. And is that common for y'all to use for y'all to share that phone?
It was because George said that he didn't have a phone, so it would either be lost or given to him by his mother. So I didn't know he had a cell phone, so we would use my phone.
So it was primarily your phone?
Yes.
Okay. And you took a lot of photographs that were on that phone?
Yes.
Videotapes?
Yes.
Text messages?
Yes.
Wait, she was with him for 3.5
She and I
years and
both
didn't
on
know he had a
phone.
phone?
So he would use it as well.
Yes.
And that phone, is that the one that was seized in this case?
Yes.
All right, so y'all called his daughters, and then during that phone call period, did you also call his brother?
Yeah.
Okay, and which brother was that?
John.
All right, now, how many brothers and sisters does George have?
I'm gonna list them if that's okay.
Okay.
It's John, Pharrell, Isaac, Mo, and his sister.
Okay. And do they all live here in Florida?
Yes.
Are they close by?
As far as I know, yes.
What about his parents?
Yes.
They live here as well?
Yes.
Okay. But his ex-wives and his children live up in Philadelphia?
Yes.
Okay. So you called the girls, then you called, or George called his brother.
Yes.
Was that conversation that long?
No, it was not.
Okay. And then after that phone call, were y'all inside by this time?
Yes, at this point, I believe that it was a good time to get a change of scenery. So I thought George would be better off inside, and frankly, I didn't want to be outside any longer either.
Okay. So just to get an idea, about this time is when he went to get the second bottle, or did y'all stay inside for a while before he left?
No, from what I recall, I thought the day was over and it was going to be, get ready for the evening, for the day. What do you want for dinner? You know, do you have an extra load of laundry that you need to throw in, kind of thing. And that was my understanding. And
This was about 5-ish or something?
I don't remember the time.
Okay. At some point during that time period, did George go to Publix again?
Yes, I thought he was going to be walking to the convenience store, but apparently when he returned, he had gone across the street with my car and my debit card to buy another bottle of wine.
What was your understanding of where he was going?
To the convenience store, walking.
For what?
Cigarettes.
Okay. And you learned obviously that he came back and you learned that he'd used your vehicle
Yes,
and he'd used your debit card
yes,
and he'd brought back a bottle of wine from Publix.
right,
And you saw the Publix video of that.
yes.
So he comes back with the other bottle of wine, and did he want you to drink with him?
It was expected, yes.
Yes. And you agreed to consume the second bottle with him?
Yes.
Okay. So over the course of that evening, drinking the wine, what did y'all do for time-wise? Watch a movie, music, just kind of tell the jury what you remember. I know it's obviously been a while, but.
It was kind of a regular thing where I would always try to come up with entertaining activities for George, and I bought a puzzle. We started off at one point doing a smaller puzzle, and then we did that very quickly. So then I purchased a larger puzzle, and I believe it was 1,000 pieces. So I thought to get his mind off of things and to focus on something, it would be smart for us to do the puzzle. So for however long that took, we finished the puzzle. So that was one.
Every piece was finished, or was it?
Every piece was finished. It was strange that we couldn't find one piece, and we thought it was funny that it was like in like the perfect place on there. But yes, every one but one piece.
All right. After the puzzle, what did y'all do?
I decided to continue to maintain and focus him, and I have a bunch of paints that I used of my son's that his grandmother bought him. It's a very big art wooden box, and it's got pastels, pencils, paint, any kind of whatever. And he and I were very much into art, and with this resource, it got him very interested in being more creative.
How long have you been into art?
Ever since I can remember. As a child,
You like to draw?
I like to do anything artistic.
Okay. And I know, we saw some of the pictures of your apartment, but it looks
What a
like
weird
there was
smile.
pictures and artwork up. Is that all your work and George's work?
The majority of it, yes, are belongings from my home, and then also some of George's, yes, on the wall.
Was he pretty good at art as well?
Yes,
All right, so you both enjoyed doing that.
very much.
So y'all got out Lucas's art set. What did y'all do with that?
We were just, I guess, doodling, whatever. I would always tell him that everything that you make is a masterpiece. So just let loose and just let it go. And we would just paint and, paint and drink, yes, and listen to music sometimes, and yes.
Okay. Now with the dogs, did y'all get the dogs involved?
Oh, yes, my dogs follow me everywhere, yes.
Was there some dancing going on with the dogs?
Yes, after we had completed the puzzle and I guess, were painted out, I thought that it might be a good point for us to maybe listen to some music. And the music that George listens to is it's very fractious to me, and it was definitely not going to lighten the mood. So we ended up finding some channel on the radio, and he was feeling it. And then we ended up, my one dog gets very active and was dancing with us, and we were just having a good time listening to music.
Okay. And I guess it's getting pretty late in the evening.
Yes.
Anything else I've missed?
I don't believe so.
All right. So tell us where y'all ended up before you started the game of hide and seek.
We were there. I couldn't think of anything else possibly that I had to continue entertainment. But I remember sitting at the end of the couch and him sitting in one of my son's chairs that was in the living room, and just kind of doing this. Like, what are we going to do now? Like, I very much would like to go to sleep.
Had y'all finished off the that bottle that he had bought?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Bless you.
Would it be fair to say that as the day wore on, the more y'all consumed?
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that as the day wore on, the more you consumed, the more effects you felt from the alcohol?
Of course, yes.
Both of you.
Yes.
Okay. So you would agree, would you not, that at the time y'all were trying to figure out something to do and you put your head down on the couch, that would it be fair to say that y'all were intoxicated?
Yes.
Tell the jury what happened.
At one point, I guess he knew that I couldn't come up with anything else, tapped me on my knee and said, "You're it." So from there, I ran up the stairs and hid into our shower, just
No, that's tag,
waiting
Sarah.
for
I'm
him
not
to
hide and
find
seek.
me so we could hopefully go to sleep soon at some point. And
And your shower, is it a tub or just walk-in?
it's a tub, but it's in the master bedroom, and you have to go all the way upstairs. You have to go in the bedroom, and then you have to go into the bathroom part, and then there's the shower part.
So did you lay down in the tub?
At one point, yes, I was.
Okay. So you were hiding.
I was trying.
Okay. And did you believe that he was going to come try to find you?
Yes.
Did you wait?
Yes, for quite some time.
All right. Then what did you decide to do?
That I decided that I need to go to sleep. I'm picking my son up the next day, and we need to start wrapping up the evening. And I went downstairs to find where he was.
And what I think the jury has seen pictures of your, would you call it an apartment or
It's considered a townhome.
a townhome? So you walk down the stairs, right?
Mhm.
And at the bottom of the stairs is a bookshelf here?
Yes, at the very end of it, yes.
Okay. So you walk down the stairs and you turn and look in the living room. What did you see?
I don't even think I made it all the way down the stairwell because I was just looking for him as soon as I could, to hopefully go upstairs as soon as we could. And I looked over and I saw him settling himself in the suitcase.
All right, tell us about the suitcase. How long, is it an older suitcase?
Yes,
Whose suitcase was it?
this is George's suitcase.
All right, and did he use it for traveling back and forth to Philly?
Yes, I had recently taken him on a trip to go see his children in Pennsylvania, who he hasn't seen in years. And we took that with us. And because of how dilapidated it was, how broken it was, in the end, after that trip, we decided that we would donate it.
All right, and I understand y'all kept the suitcase upstairs.
Yes,
How long did y'all keep it upstairs?
since we had moved in.
Is there a closet up there you kept it in?
Yes, it was in the master closet, the master bedroom closet, all the way in the back because of the size of it, and there was nowhere to put it, so it's all the way in the back.
So when did y'all decide to move it down from upstairs to downstairs? Was it that day or sometime earlier?
No, it was maybe a week or so prior.
Okay. And so what, y'all were gonna donate that to Goodwill or?
Yes, we were going to do, I guess, a spring cleaning. Anyone who has children understands that they grow quickly, and there was a
Spring
lot
cleaning in
of
February.
clothes that I needed to go through of my sons, and then also from George and I moving in and just kind of putting everything in there, at one point where we just needed to actually go through it and organize it and get things more in order.
So is that the reason it was downstairs? You were gonna donate it and a bunch of things that you're gonna put inside it?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So it'd been down there a week, so it was already down there?
Yes, George brought it down.
Okay. So you said that you got down there, you're looking for him, you see him settling into the suitcase.
Yes.
What did you do?
In my head, I said, oh
Not in your
man,
head.
we're obviously not going to be going to sleep anytime soon. And I walked over and he was trying to get himself flat, so I couldn't tell that he was in there. And then
Now, let me stop you there. The suitcase, is it the suitcase over here in the
yes,
box? You've seen it, you saw it.
yes,
It's a pretty big suitcase.
yes.
How big is George?
George was my height, and
How tall are you?
I'm 5'3".
Okay. And how much did George weigh?
I thought it was 100 pounds.
Okay. And how much did you weigh?
I was 98 pounds.
Your arrest document says 140.
Put on some weight.
Since I've been incarcerated, yes.
Well, at the time, though, y'all were pretty skinny.
Yes.
So from the pictures, it looks like y'all were both pretty.
Yes.
All right. So because of his thinness, is that how? And he's a small man.
Yes.
Okay. So he was able to get in the suitcase on his own.
Yes.
Did he willingly get in the suitcase?
He was already in there.
Okay.
Now, see, that
Yeah,
contradicts what
George,
she said
did you
before,
see-
that they thought it would be funny if he
Yes.
went in. She helped him
Tell
in.
us what happened.
I mean, it just I zipped him up. We thought it was funny. And we're joking about how he was, I guess, small enough to fit inside of the suitcase.
All right. So what happened then?
From there, it was just, we were laughing about it. And it was just strange that he was small enough to fit in there. And then I kind of moved it around a little bit with him in the suitcase still. It was still funny that he was still in the suitcase. Just, I think he and I were just kind of couldn't believe that he could fit in the suitcase.
Did you eventually close the top?
Yes, the top was already closed. As he was settling himself in there, that's how I knew he was in there, was because the top was kind of flopping a little bit.
Okay. So he had gotten in there to hide and he pulled the top
Yes,
on top of it. But you could tell he was in there.
yes,
You saw him right away.
yes,
All right. So at some point, did you zip him up?
yes.
Did you? And what was he saying or doing when you were zipping him up?
We just thought it was funny.
Were you both laughing?
Yes,
And so you zipped him up. Were y'all still laughing once you zipped him up?
yes.
Tell the jury what happened then.
From there, I moved the suitcase around a couple of times, just kind of on the wheels and moved it around. And at that point, it was funny. We were joking and laughing about it.
All right, now, eventually, did you go sit down on the couch and get your phone?
Yes.
I missed something?
Well, the suitcase had, from me moving it around, was flopped over. So while it was like that, I thought at that point I had a moment to, I guess, take the time to talk to him while I guess he was not able to get out for a moment.
You
You
guess?
flipped it. You got it on the top, right?
Yeah.
He gets in, but at some point you flip it over so he The zipper is on the bottom.
Well, it was just kind of how I was moving it around, and it ended up kind of flopping. So,
It was upside down.
yes,
So after you did that, what did you do?
that's when I went over and decided to videotape to.
She told the police she didn't remember. First, she
Just
said, I
see
didn't take any
the,
videotapes. Then she couldn't remember making any
I guess
videotapes.
the-
Then she didn't remember
just in
making the
it
videotape.
for him to understand that right now I feel safe, and right now I have the ability to actually speak to you in a manner that normally I would not have the ability to do.
And you were intoxicated,
Yes.
and you would agree that you said some things you should not have.
Yes.
Right? But you realized he could not get out and get at you. Is that fair?
At that moment, yes.
So it goes on for about 10 minutes.
Yes.
You heard it here today, did you not?
Yes.
You heard his voice as he was speaking from the suitcase.
Yes.
That was his voice on the video and audio.
Yes.
And you heard your voice on the video and audio.
Yes.
That was your voice.
Yes.
All those things said by the man were said by George in that 2-minute video.
Correct.
All the words said by the female were said by you in that 2-minute video.
Correct.
Were you intending on showing him the video the next day?
Yes.
At the time,
Liar.
or the next day, is it fair to say you don't even remember a videotape?
Yeah.
I do not.
She doesn't remember
So-
doing it, but she did it. But she did
From what
videotape
you
him so
can
that she
tell
could say
from
these.
watching it,
This makes no
did that
sense.
refresh your memory about that event?
It did.
Yeah.
Why did you say all that?
See, he tried to get it. He tried to get it in. He tried to get in. Why did you say all of that? Oh, because he's violent to me. Tried to get those prior bad acts in before she says what it was he did that put her in imminent fear of bodily harm or death. Nice try, Sarah. Didn't get it in. The prosecution has nothing better to do right now than sit and wait for her to try to get things in that she's not allowed to talk about yet. Quickly, let's read some of these super chats. Sonia or Chris says, reboot the Mike Jeff we did. Duncan, Idaho, the overt act of sticking his little fingers out and trying to escape from the suitcase. See, he forced her to hit him with the bat. And Roy Losner, member for 5 months. Nobody cares, Sarah. You zip George in a suitcase and let him expire. And for some reason, Daisy Jones, a membership of 2 months, didn't show up on my highlighted list here. So I don't think she's connecting with the jury very well. Daisy, I agree with you. Thank you so much for being a supporter for 2 months. And Lancelot 652 says, I'm waiting for the waterworks to start. I don't know if she has that in her. I don't think she can emote that well. Paul Farrell, member for 7 months. Thank you so much for supporting for 7 months. Island with the $2. Yoda and I are having basically the same day. And Duncan, Idaho, they were homebodies, much to the chagrin of all of their neighbors. And Duncan, Idaho again. Come on, let's get to cross. This is unbearable. Well, she's changing her story, and he knows she's changing her story, so he keeps trying to throw in these little details to sort of make the stories mesh. Yeah, the prosecution is going to rip her apart.
Mr. Owens, you may proceed.
All right, I'm talking about just the 2-minute video part that was recorded. Could you just tell the jury what you were feeling, what your feelings were at the time?
Tell us what your feelings were in that video you don't remember making.
Just explain that to the jury. You talked about it before. You said he was in that confined space and it was my chance, but do you want to elaborate on that, or?
Sure. I want you all to know that the majority of the time, I'm always afraid and always scared.
All right, well, I understand that.
This
I understand that.
not the question.
But, would it be fair to say that you had some anger at that point?
I did.
Would it be fair to say that you wanted to tell him off to some degree?
I just wanted, yes, for him to have a better understanding, which was the whole point of the videos and documentation prior.
And you could tell that he was uncomfortable.
I'm guessing.
And did you want him to feel some uncomfort?
I did.
Okay.
You're guessing he was uncomfortable?
Now, at some point, you turned off the video.
Yes.
And then we saw a second video, which was approximately 11 minutes later. And you've seen that video that was played to the jury. It was 22 seconds long.
Yes.
And I don't think you speak in that video. You hear George say Sarah one time.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So between the 2-minute video and the 22-second video is an 11-minute period. Would you tell the jury what happened?
We continued to, I guess, speak to one another, and his tone changed, and I knew the tone, and we ended up, I guess, arguing back and forth with one another. And
Well, this is horse shit.
it was the things that he was saying very much frightened me, and cursing at me and threatening me. And
Did he want you to let him out of the suitcase?
I'm sure so.
Okay, go ahead, tell.
So he didn't say let me out of the suit.
And it just
Oh,
got,
God.
it got very heated very quickly, and he continued to push on the suitcase. And my fear was that he was going to break out of the suitcase, knowing that it was a broken suitcase. And his hand started to come through, his hand started to come through this way. And so I shook the suitcase, trying to get his hand to go back in, shaking it, and telling him that, please stop doing this. Please stop doing this to me. Please stop doing this to me.
So his hand actually got out of the suitcase,
Yes,
and you went to the suitcase
yes,
and shook it.
yes,
Did that force his hand to go back in?
no.
So you're shaking it. Were you shaking it to try to get the suitcase, his hand back in?
Yes,
How long did you shake it?
I don't know.
But his hand was still out.
Yes,
Was he trying to get out?
forcefully, yes,
Was he angry at you?
yes.
Were you in fear?
Always.
If he would have gotten out of the suitcase,
Here comes an
what would he have
objection.
done to you?
Like he used
No
to tell
objection.
me, he probably would have made me unrecognizable, or I would have lost my life.
Did you lose the grip on the suitcase?
Yes.
Where was the bat in relation to the suitcase?
It was leaning up against the dining room table, right there.
How far was the bat from the suitcase?
3 feet, 2 feet.
Was his hand still out of the suitcase?
Yes,
And was he getting out of the suitcase?
he very much was trying. Yes.
And so what did you do?
For the split-second reaction that I had, I happened to see that, and I grabbed the baseball bat and was trying to poke his hand to go back in, to please don't break through, please. So I hit his hand.
Please stay in the suitcase where he said he couldn't
The
breathe.
outside part of his
Great.
hand.
Yes,
We've seen the photographs of his left hand. Did you cause the bruising there?
I'm guessing yes.
Now, you've seen the bat. It's a youth bat.
Yes, I bought it for my son.
Is this the bat you use?
Yes,
And you said you poked him with it?
yes, I kind of pushed, like I held it with the skinny part here and then
So the grip here,
prodded at it. Yes,
you grabbed it with both hands here,
yes,
and then the barrel of the bat, the big part of the bat is here.
This is the bat you committed a felony of assault
Thrusted
with.
it into the different areas of the suitcase.
I started with his hand, and his hand, he was still trying to get out. He was still trying to do that. So I started to push on the suitcase around it, hoping to have his hand retract and go back inside.
This is terrible testimony.
You made those injuries.
I did,
We've seen the photographs.
yes,
We see the bruising. Is that from that bat?
yes.
Eventually, did his hand go back inside from you doing?
Yes, finally, he had subsided and retracted his hand.
So in your mind, did you prevent him from attacking you?
Absolutely. Split-second decision.
Now, once he retracted his hand, do you remember zipping it up some, or what did you do in relation? Because he was upside down, was he not, at that point?
Yes,
At some point, you flipped him back up.
I did.
Tell how that happened.
He wasn't cursing. He wasn't threatening. His hand was inside foremost. There was no more of him trying to break through the suitcase. So I felt safe enough to turn it back over. It wasn't happening anymore.
You went back to the video and the couch,
I did, yes.
and we saw the second video,
Yes,
the 22-second, and he's right side up again,
yes,
and you hear him say, Sarah,
yes.
had you left enough room for him to get out? Zipper to zipper.
Yes, that's how his hand was trying.
That suitcase has two zippers, doesn't it? And they meet at various places along the line?
Correct.
How much room, when you flipped it over, how much room was between zipper to zipper?
I don't know specifically. I mean, it was enough to where his hand was coming out.
After you had hit him with the bat, was he not trying to get out anymore?
No,
Did you believe that he could breathe in there?
yes,
Did you ever believe he could die in there?
no,
He told you for 2 minutes, I can't breathe.
Were
I
you trying
can't
to kill him?
breathe.
never.
Did you want to kill him?
I did not.
Did you walk upstairs?
I did, yes.
Why didn't you let him out before you walked upstairs? Were you afraid?
Terrified is more of the word.
As long as he was in the suitcase, he couldn't harm you.
Correct.
When he's Did you want him to calm down?
Yes, I wanted him to stop being angry because I know what it is for him to be angry.
You went upstairs. Where were the dogs?
The dogs ran upstairs with me.
And where did they go?
On the bed.
Did you have the phone with you?
Yes,
I know at some point you called your husband Brian, did you not?
I did.
Do you recall how long that conversation was?
Not very long.
Can you recall what was said?
I don't remember exactly. No, I don't.
Duncan Idaho. Oh, sorry.
Sarah,
We'll read it later.
said that when he was in the suitcase, he was threatening you. Can you tell the jury what he was saying?
I don't know. Am I allowed to curse?
Yes.
Please, we need an F-bomb.
That he was going to fucking end me. And that's what made me ask him please to stop doing what he's doing to me. That he was going to, I'm guessing, try his best that night to probably take my life.
But what the threat you heard was he's
going to
say the word.
end me.
Excuse me?
Fucking end me.
End you?
Yes.
One more.
Yes, sir.
Judge, will you approach the bench?
Yes.
All right, lawyer calls for sidebar. So now on our bingo card, we got F-bomb, dog cam, baseball bat, dog snores, lawyer calling for sidebar, wine, suitcase, and judge calls for sidebar. Duncan Idaho with the $5 said, I'm begging you, please stop trying to live. Please, I'm so scared. Why are you making me do this? Yeah. And Duncan Idaho also gifted 5 Legal Vices memberships. If you got one of those, I hope you gave Duncan Idaho a super special thanks. Sebastian Muller says, Jeff, did you not know that I can't breathe is code for I'm going to kill you? I mean, how could any of this be her fault? The only thing she did was to put him in the suitcase. Sarcasm. Thank you, Sebastian. And 200 Watt Studio with a $5. Once I got him back in the suitcase, I threw it down the stairs. K-Matt Red Queen, guess so death will keep you from getting out of the case. Yeah. 200 Watt Studio again with a 5. He stopped moving after you hit him with a bat. Do you think he fell asleep? Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting too. After I continued to poke him
5
with the
members
bat.
of the jury, it is 2:14. I have a matter that I have to discuss with counsel at this point in time outside of your presence. So I'm going to ask you to retire to the deliberation room. We'll bring you back in as promptly as possible. Again, similar instruction that I've given you. Please do not conduct any independent investigation or research as the person, places, things, or charge involved, and do not have any discussions amongst yourselves or anyone else about those things. We'll bring you back in as promptly as possible. Thank you.
All right, while they're going out, we'll continue here. 200 Watt Studio. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is she kept talking about how she was prodding the suitcase with a baseball bat, and then he stopped. Moxie Dame, what's up, Jess? For the $10, Jeff, been lurking all morning. Thanks for covering this. And wow, she doesn't disappoint. Lol. Cross could be exciting. Popcorn, yellow striped smile. And Duncan Idaho. Her testimony is making me feel embarrassed. See, what she wants us to believe is he was struggling to breathe. Sarah, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. She's yelling at him. She stops the video, and then he starts yelling at her, threatening to kill her.
Argument at this point in time.
And then turns the video on for 22 seconds when he goes back to going, Sarah.
Judge, I believe that's pretty close to what we already knew from the deposition testimony. From the doctors relaying what she said for the proffer. What we have here is testimony from the defendant. Her timeline is she comes downstairs after having gone up to the shower and hiding, laying down after being declared to be it. She comes back downstairs, and before she gets back to the bottom of the stairwell, she can see that the victim is in the suitcase trying to get flat because the lid is flopping and he's not hidden just yet. And so she comes over, and I believe she testified she was moving it around before actually zipping the lid shut, but moving it around, everybody's laughing. It's all fun and games still. And then she zips it, and it's still fun and games, and everybody's laughing. And then at this point, she testifies that this is now her opportunity to get on her pulpit to express her true feelings about everything. And that's when she sits down on the couch and opens up her phone device and begins recording what later turns out to be IMG _1062.movie. at 11:12:45 for 2 minutes and 3 seconds. During this period of time, the decedent is expressing meekly that he can't breathe. The only time he ever curses at her is, Sarah, I can't fucking breathe. Babe, I can't fucking breathe. He is demonstrating under the law that he is in fear of losing his life. She has committed an aggravated assault. She has committed false imprisonment. She was the initial aggressor. There was no overt act.
She might not get this battered spouse defense.
Her boyfriend. She then goes on to say that during this period of time between the end of the movie at 11:14:48 seconds and before the next one starts at 11:23, that it's now at this time, while he's still constrained and clearly unable to get out under his own power despite having his hand out, she begins beating him with a bat, poking his hands, poking the suitcase with a deadly weapon. A bat is used for baseball, but it can also be used to harm another person. And according to the medical examiner's testimony, there was great harm caused to him, deep ecchymosis bruises. She can't start to do this out of fear, like the analogy I gave earlier. If I pull a gun to rob you, Judge, and you pull a gun, I can't shoot you in self-defense. She started this. She started this. There was no overt act. And therefore, we're asking for you to prevent, under the case law, any prior instances of violence, any reputation evidence, and any battered spouse syndrome evidence, because that's simply just what the case ended up being. Thank you.
Response.
I got to agree with him. The defense better come up with some magic shit right here.
Judge, this was a game by two intoxicated people. When people are drunk and intoxicated, they do silly and stupid things. The evidence is uncontroverted that George Torres willingly, by his own choice, elected to hide in the suitcase. By their interaction between the two of them, giggling and laughing at each other, he consented to her zipping up the suitcase. And the playful nature of what was going on during those few minutes prior to the video. When the video is turned on, there's a 2-minute period where they're talking. He's saying, I need to get out. I can't breathe. She's not taking him seriously. As you've seen from the videos, I thought it was the boy crying wolf. She did not appreciate the fact that he could be actually having trouble breathing. And this was a chance for him to be heard by her about how she felt about some things involving their relationship. A short time later, the video was turned off, and then that period has been testified to by my client. And that period is uncontroverted. That's a second period of time. We've got that time for the video. We got the 11 minutes. We got the 22 seconds. And there's no video. There's no audio. There's no eyewitness. There's nothing but Sarah Boone's testimony. And she's testified here today that they had words. There were threats. He got his hand out of the suitcase. She knew by the threats and him getting his hand out of the suitcase that he was about to get out of the suitcase and he was going to hurt her. A reasonable person under that scenario would believe she was about to be harmed. She was an imminent threat of harm. She blocked that attack by grabbing the bat, hitting his hand. When that didn't work, she started poking him with the bat and the suitcase. Eventually, she poked him several times. He put his hand inside the suitcase. She put the bat up. When she realized he was not going to do that any further, she flipped him over right side up. She still had a fear, knowing that if he got out, she would be harmed. He would beat her up. She went upstairs. That is an overt act based on the discussions, coupled with the fact that he threatened her, using the word, I'm going to fucking end it for you, or some words to that effect. I don't remember her
If she's
exact
telling the
words,
truth.
just before she went upstairs while he was still in the suitcase. If she would have let him out, and this is a crime, now this is an event involving an omission, failure to act, failure to unzip him at that point, before she went upstairs. The failure to act, the failure to unzip, which would have let him out, which would have created a situation that she believed was imminent bodily harm to herself. And I guess I'd get a couple of examples. Let's say that a police officer is called to a scene, and the only thing he hears is there is a suspect, and the suspect may be armed. So, of course, the officer pulls out his revolver, and he's walking around. Well, then eventually he finds the suspect, and the suspect reaches for his waist. The officer doesn't see the gun, but the officer sees the movement to the waist. The officer fires and shoots the suspect. The officer is justified because there's an immediate threat of harm. The officer has to react instinctively.
The judge is not buying this.
There's no time to
Look at the
think.
expression on his face.
Similar to the actions that Sarah Boone had to take. Another example, you're in a bar with your buddies and you've had something to drink, and another group has had something to drink, and one of your buddies gets into an argument with one of the buddies on the other party. And one of your friends, seeing that it's being escalated, and the guy that's arguing with your buddy is aggressive, more aggressive than your buddy is. Your buddy's trying to settle the thing, but this other individual, maybe he's had too much to drink and he's more aggressive. So you go around behind this individual, and before he's able to strike your buddy, you grab him, you lock him up. That's physical restraint to block an attack. Or you grab
She
him by the
wasn't
neck.
in the suitcase to
Then you
block
choke
an
him.
attack.
Physical
They were in the
restraint
suitcase because it was a fun
to
game.
block an attack.
I'm getting pissed now.
That's what she was doing with the suitcase. If she let him out of the suitcase, she was going to be harmed based on him trying to get out with his hand, based on the threats he made while he had his
this
hand
is
out,
horse shit.
based on the threats he made while he had his hand inside just before she went upstairs. Thank you.
Thank you. Court's going to review all the case law that it's obtained in its research in this matter and come back with an oral ruling momentarily. Thank you.
Oh my God, that was terrible. Right. Well, he's going to go check that out. He's going to look at the look at the law, do a little bit more research, come back. Oh, she's looking like, holy shit, this isn't working out the way that we thought it was. While the judge is out, I want to go back and rewatch those arguments and talk a little bit more about those ridiculous arguments he just made. How am I going to do this? That infuriated me. Let me get back to YouTube here. Right. Okay, everybody mark off sealing. You see Seal-Ian Gomez. That's hard to pronounce. Seal-Ian Gomez. That's the Great Seal of the state of Florida. That's the name we've given to that. Right. I'm going to take this off the screen. So that's the one. I have to keep this straight in my head so I don't miss the judge coming back. And I'm going to put this up here. Which one is this? This is window number 24. Right, there we go. So I want to go back to the beginning of his rebuttal there. And let's push play. They're going out.
The master bedroom closet all the way in the back because of the size of it, and there was nowhere to put it. So,
Wait.
Sarah Boone's first time interacting with the courts.
This is not what we're after, is it? I don't think so.
Hey there, everybody. Thank you so much for watching our Sarah
I guess
Boone
it is.
trial
All right,
coverage. Now, guess what? This isn't Sarah Boone's first time interacting with the court system. In fact, she had been charged previously
All right, hang on.
with domestic violence against the same
You know what I'm
man
trying to
she
do here. Y'all know what it is I'm trying to do.
forced documentation prior.
Where's
And
the
you could
argument?
tell that he was uncomfortable.
I'm guessing.
And did you want him to feel some uncomfort?
All right, I think they just edited out here. I'm going to try this all over again. I think I pulled up the wrong law and crime video. Confusing myself there. Law and crime. Go directly to Ye Oldie channel. We need the one that's been going live for 1,000,000 years. Great. Are you the one that's been going live? Yes, you're the one that's been going live for 1,000,000 years. Let me bring that up. Right. It's darn confusing having the same window open. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Prosecution, I thought, made a good argument. There we go. Let's get back till where he starts talking. And then we'll go over this while we wait for the judge. This judge could be a while. So real quickly here, see what you guys are talking about here in chat. I didn't boom or something. I was doing this. I was pulling it up. But go ahead and mark off. I'm feeling generous today. If you want to mark off Vice's boomers something on your bingo card, go ahead. I don't care. I don't care. So here we are. This is the end of the prosecutor's argument. And let's see let's go back over the arguments made by the defense.
Because that's simply just what the case ended up being. Thank you.
Response.
See, okay, first, I agree with the prosecutor. That whole testimony, that whole line of testimony didn't really add anything new that would show here is an overt act. Here is something objectively demonstrable that happened that would allow her to rely on this battered spouse syndrome, that would put her in immediate fear of imminent fear of great bodily harm or death. Nothing was added to this. I think that she has not done enough to rely on the battered spouse syndrome. I think there's a very, very, very good chance the judge is going to come back and say she can't rely on the battered spouse syndrome, which is going to devastate her case. It's going to devastate her already non-existent case. So let's continue here. Hi, guy.
Judge, this was a game. But
Okay, so if you're playing a game, that doesn't put you in fear of immediate, like it's going to happen now. There's nothing about the game that makes you go, oh my God, he's going to kill me. Or, oh my God, he's going to hurt me. So they're playing a game. This does not help his argument.
two intoxicated people. When people are drunk and intoxicated, they do silly and stupid things.
Like zip their boyfriend in a suitcase and proceed to wail on him with a baseball bat.
The evidence is uncontroverted that George Torres willingly, by his own choice, elected to hide in the suitcase.
Well, that's her current version. That's her current version of the story. that he was already in there when she came down. But the previous versions of the story, she said, oh, they were, she came back down, and they thought it would be funny if he hid in the suitcase. So they put him in the suitcase, and then they thought it'd be funny she zipped it up. So this is a different version of the story.
By their interaction between the two of them, giggling and laughing at each other, he consented to
giggling and laughing with each other again. That's nothing to say, okay, this is an act that made her fear immediately for her life.
her zipping up the suitcase and the playful nature of what was going on during those few minutes prior to the video. When the video is turned on, there's a 2-minute period where they're talking. He said,
well, I wouldn't call that 2-minute video them talking. I would call it George begging for his life and her taunting him. The only talking, all he was saying was, Sarah, I can't breathe. I can't fucking breathe. Sarah, I can't fucking breathe. That's all he was saying. That's not much of a conversation, is it really? And I mean, it's Sarah, again, I mentioned it very quickly in passing. Sarah wants us to believe that they were having fun in games, that they got in there, zipped him up. They were still having fun in games. And then she suddenly says, he suddenly says, I can't breathe. And he spends the next 2 minutes basically begging for his life. And she, for some reason, is taunting him, belittling him, and he's saying these horrible things about him. He's begging, he's very, very plaintively, just, Sarah, I can't fucking breathe, Sarah. And shh. And then she turns it off. And she wants us to believe that as soon as she turns the camera off, during this next 12-minute period, they get into an argument where he's like, when I get out of this suitcase, I'm going to make you unrecognizable, or I'm going to kill you. And they're having this argument and this fight, and something is happening. His hand is coming out and she's whacking him with a baseball bat. And at some point she becomes in fear of her life. And then when she turns the video player, the video recorder on her phone on again, 12 minutes later, he's back to just, Sarah. He goes from dying to arguing and fighting and getting his fingers whacked with a baseball bat back to Sarah. That is absurd. That I find that completely incredible. Like, in the real meaning of the word incredible. It's like uncredible. It's not credible. The only evidence we have that they got into this argument and he threatened to make her unrecognizable or take her life is just her on the stand saying this. We do have video evidence of her saying, this is how it feels when you cheat on me. This is how it feels when you choke me. That's my name. Don't wear it out. Fuck you. You should just shut the fuck up. Shh, and all that stuff. We also have physical evidence of the text message of her saying something along the lines of, I'll get rid of him. Ugh, Torres. Yeah. Yeah, so we're supposed to believe that he's like those arguments, where you're with Karens or significant others, when you're yelling and screaming at each other. And you're like, all right, I'm going to record this, and you push record, and they go from you said, oh, now that's I think we should do this, I think we should do that, and they change because they know they're being filmed. Is that what we're supposed to believe, that somehow through osmosis or telepathy he knew that he was being recorded outside of the suitcase, so he immediately changed his demeanor to look better on camera? No, I find this wholly unbelievable.
saying, I need to get out, I can't breathe. She's not taking him seriously, as you've seen from the videos.
Well, whose fucking fault is that? She's not taking him seriously. Well, maybe she should have. If she would have taken him seriously, she wouldn't be here right now.
Boy crying wolf. She did not appreciate the fact that he could be actually having trouble breathing. And this was a chance for him to be heard by her about how she felt about some things involving their relationship. A short time later, the video was turned off, and then that period
And then it changed.
has been testified to.
Everything changed after she turned the video off, and then he became the aggressor.
By my client. And that period is uncontroverted. That's a second period of time. We've got that time for the video. We got the 11 minutes. We got the 22 seconds. And there's no video. There's no audio. There's no eyewitness. There's nothing but
how
Sarah Boone's
fucking
testimony.
convenient
She's
that.
testified here today that they had words. There were threats.
You didn't have words before other than Sarah, Sarah, I can't breathe. And we only had Sarah after that. So where is all of this conversation coming? All of this conversation that allegedly happened when the camera was off. The conversation that mysteriously happens only when she needs to find a reason to keep him in the suitcase so she can probably not go to jail for the rest of her life.
Threats. He got his hand out of the suitcase. She knew by the threats.
All right, judge is coming back. Let's stop that and bring this up. Where are we at here? Hurry up, judge. All right.
Defense.
James Owens from this room.
Connie Henderson for Sarah Boone. Coming back over, Sarah Boone.
Ms. Boone is currently seated at counsel's table, wearing the same clothing from this morning. Court has had the opportunity to review the case law, review the arguments provided by both the state and the defense. Court finds that a overt act has been established.
No.
Case law is clear that a scintilla of the providing of an overt act is sufficient to provide the self-defense jury instruction. An overt act is not something that's specifically defined in Florida case law. It's something that's from the totality of the circumstances, seemingly under the authorities that the court has reviewed. As such, the court is going to find that under Holland, a overt act has been established and will allow the defense to proceed with evidence of reputation and specific instances of conduct and battered spouse evidence, so long as the necessary predicates are established for those items. Any questions or clarifications with regard to the court's order state? Defense.
I think it would help if we went through my exhibits involving the blow-up photographs and these other photographs, because I think some of it was contingent on the court's ruling. So I don't know if you want to try to deal with all of them one at a time in front of the jury, or whether we want to just talk about them ahead of time so that we know.
Are there any objections to those items?
It depends on the items. I was shown a lot of different things, including like a rap sheet between the victim and the defendant. So
I've taken that.
I'm happy to take care of some of this stuff in advance.
I'd rather do it now
Yes.
so that it's not up down.
All right, before we get to talk about what evidence can come in and what evidence can, I just really quickly want to address what everybody's saying. Everybody's saying the judge pussied out. The judge needs to spend a night in the suitcase. He can't go from being the best judge in the world to being an evil guy. And I don't think he's wrong with his ruling based on one thing he said, the standard for whether or not someone can make this battered spouse or self-defense argument is if there is a scintilla of evidence of an overt act. It doesn't, you don't have to firmly establish or establish definitively or beyond a reasonable doubt or preponderance of the evidence. That's not, if there's even a scintilla, if there's a whiff, if there's even a hint in the breeze that there might have been an overt act, that's enough to allow someone the self-defense argument. In other words, the court errs on the side of the defendant to protect the rights of the defendant to put on a defense in their case. I wasn't sure what the standard was. If the standard is only a scintilla of an overt act, that I think the burden is met, and there is a hint, there's a whiff in the air. There's that what was that smell? That's a scintilla. There's just that very, very small hint that there might possibly have been an overt act. In that case, you allow the defendant to put on their case to make their arguments on their behalf. I agree with the judge's ruling based on that. He's following the law. He's doing what he should. And it's like I said, if it was a preponderance of the evidence, if it was beyond a reasonable doubt, if it was something higher, anything higher than just a scintilla of evidence of an overt act, I don't think she would have got it. But it is that low. The bar is extraordinarily low. I was not aware of that. I am now. So I think he did the right thing. And I guess let's clean these off here. Duncan Idaho, the $2. So she was a Florida version of Daniel Penny. Jinver with the $2. I've lost all respect for Owens. Hey, he just won. He won on his argument, so respect him for that, I guess. Again, the bar was extraordinarily low, much lower than I thought. Sonia or Chris, I had to run and do medical stuff. Did the state do cross? This is still the defense. The defense is just getting underway with Sarah. Lone Star Living went bed, thought he was coming for sex. Fear? Yeah, that's what she did. I went to bed, thought he was going to come up and make sweet love to me, but I fell asleep. So therefore murder. Ant's the man with the $2, loving the dog, chilling down there, man's best friend. All right, so it's it may be disappointing to some, but I think it was clearly the correct decision based on the standard only being a scintilla of evidence that there might have been an overt act. So it's not maybe not what you wanted, but it's what the law said, and I think the judge was doing an admirable thing.
Down, in and out with the jury.
So
now
Go ahead, Mr. Owens.
they're
What
going
do
to
we got?
argue about what should be in and what should be out, so we'll go to 1.25 speed.
Everything, some of it is defense identification K, it's 4 pictures involving injuries to the leg. The leg.
assuming a predicate for fair and accurate conviction, for this late, we don't have a objection to pay.
Okay.
Identification, defense identification, composite L, 2 photographs.
No, I don't think he approved it
correct.
just to avoid appeal. I think it was the law. He applied the law
And it's
correctly.
Testimony that the decedent was responsible for that in a criminal manner, and fair and accurate conviction gives objection.
Okay.
Defense exhibit M, for identification. 2 photographs. The first one is a photograph of the back porch. Sarah's on the back porch with her 2 dogs. The next photograph is a picture of one of her dogs on one of the outdoor couches. Because relevance is that he would threaten the dogs with harm if she didn't comply with his directives, and he actually harmed the dogs, kicked the dogs.
Oh, they're going to put in evidence that he kicked the dog because she wouldn't do what he wanted.
She was in fear for their safety, so she will testify about this.
Relevancy objection is overruled.
She was in fear of the dog's safety.
Identification, defense identification number N, or letter N, 1 photograph. It's a photograph of the living area, but also the stairs, and it shows that one of the allegations by the state is that the defendant.
Okay, no objection.
No objection to, assuming all the wrong practice.
Judge, this is where he took a bath. It's 5 photographs where he took a bath to the TV, to Sarah's TV.
My understanding, is this O? This is still O, correct?
He took a
Yes.
My
interesting.
understanding from the state is there's
He
no
took a
objection so
bat
long
to
as the
Sarah's
foundation is
TV.
established. Thank you.
He
Sarah
also
took a bat to him.
video. There's a short video of
Some
Sarah.
states exhibit 2, we're not objecting to that.
Okay.
As long as the foundation.
No objection so long as foundation is established.
P, identification, defense identification P, is 2 photographs of an incident in which
No objection as long as foundation.
Oh yes, we can now mark Sarah is the victim off on our
No
bingo
objection so long
card.
as appropriate predicate is established.
Now, these next ones are individual photographs, not composites, but Q, for identification, is 1 photograph.
Part of the rights of the very young.
I was told this was separate from the burn. This was, I think, a slap or something. Not the burn.
No objection to foundation.
With regard to Q, no objection so long as the appropriate foundation is laid.
Identification R,
No objection as long as foundation laid.
No objection to R so long as foundation is laid.
S,
Same for S.
for identification.
With regard to S, no objection so long as foundation is laid. T. No objection by the state, so long as appropriate foundation is laid.
Same for you.
No objection from the state, so long as appropriate foundation is laid for you. Same for V.
Same for W.
W.
Same for X.
X.
Same for Y.
Y.
All right, while they're doing that, we've got 746 people here and 421 likes. How about 300 of you get down there and hit that like button, please? And if you haven't subscribed, let's do that too. That would be super nice. I would love it if you did that. We need 70 more subscribers to get to 81,500. If just 70 of you get down there and hit that subscribe button, you'll get me to 81,500 by the end of today. That would be very, very nice. I would enjoy that. Oh, now we've got the pictures of Sarah with marks on her face, etc.
It's one of the other.
Okay, identification for A.
Were these the ones that we addressed pre-trial?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No problem with that being demonstrative aid.
So in terms of introducing this as an exhibit into evidence?
So those
Is
are
it
the
contained
pictures
in
that
K through Y.
those are the pictures that he wanted to
Then,
introduce during opening
that
statements,
accurate?
but he wasn't allowed
I
to.
believe so. I mean, I know the court probably doesn't want the blow up, but
If it's contained.
it's going to be easier to handle the court to handle the 8.5 by 11.
If it's, I'll allow you to use it for demonstrative purposes, but I'm not going to accept it in evidence as it is duplicative of what's already in evidence as X. Defense pre-marked X.
And then identification C.
Same thing. Photographs.
That was it was one of the earlier ones we addressed. M or N was the staircase. Okay, for the same reasons, you can utilize it for demonstrative purposes, but it's duplicative as the exhibit itself will be entered into evidence, presumably.
So, D, identification.
Same thing. One of the photographs and it's on state digital.
Any disagreement that it's included in your pre-marked?
I agree.
Okay, then same ruling. It is duplicative. You can utilize it for demonstrative purposes.
Identification E.
Same thing.
Is it included, sir, in K through Y?
Yes.
Then for the same reasons it's duplicative, you can utilize it for demonstrative purposes only.
F for identification.
Same thing.
It's included in your submittals?
Yes.
All right, same ruling. It's duplicative. You can utilize it for demonstrative purposes, but it will not be accepted into evidence.
Identification G.
Same thing.
Is it included in your submittal, sir?
Yes.
All right, for the same reasons, I find it's duplicative. You can utilize it for demonstrative purposes, but not seeking it into evidence.
H.
Same thing.
Yes.
Same ruling. You can use it for demonstrative purposes, but it will not be received into evidence by virtue of it being duplicative.
Identification I.
Same as T.
Any disagreement with that, sir?
Doesn't.
Same ruling. If court finds it's duplicative, you can utilize it for demonstrative purposes.
Identification.
Hang on, is that the house?
It's either Delta or B.
I think that's Bravo. Is it the defendant on the porch with the two dogs?
Yes.
That was pre-marked before trial as Bravo.
B.
That's a B.
Same.
It was as defense M. Relevancy objection is overruled, but I'm not going to allow the enlargement as it's duplicative, as the native photo is in evidence. But you can use it for demonstrative
Yeah, I
purposes.
probably want to use these in closing and just use this, use that for the.
However you see fit, sir.
Okay, this is not working today?
I can't speak to that. I don't know that anybody today has utilized it.
I know-
But that's not connected to the overhead. That's separate and apart from the overhead.
Okay.
Lancelot says George must be psychic to know when the phone is on to act meek and then turned off to be violent. Exactly. That's what I was saying. Exactly.
Nothing else through Sarah. There may be some body cam footage to refresh memories. We've got two deputies out there.
Okay. Any other exhibits with regard to Ms. Boone at this point in time, Mr. Owens? State any reason why we cannot ask Ms. Owens or Mr. Owens to continue his inquiry of Ms. Boone and have her return to the witness stand. All right. Mr. Owens, anything else we need to discuss, sir? Sure. Okay. if we can bring Ms. Boone back up to the witness stand. Once she is seated, we can bring back in our panel.
These pictures are going to be problematic for the prosecution. Nobody's going to want to see like multiple pictures of her with marks on her neck, marks on her face, black eye, stitches. That's not going to make the jury feel very sorry for George. So the prosecution is going to have to emphasize she also was violent towards him. They've got his medical records. They're also going to have to emphasize that that was a long time ago, years ago, and they were having a great time. He was taking his anger management classes. They weren't arguing as much. Their last argument was a week before this. And they were having fun and playing games and getting ready for some schmexy time before this happened. They're going to have to really, really emphasize that.
Jury entering.
State, you recognize our jury.
Yes, sir.
Defense, you recognize our jury.
Yes.
I think you all can be seated. Members of the jury, again, you could, once seated, raise your hands to confirm that you complied with the court's instructions during our last break. Record reflect all hands have been raised. Mr. Owens, you may continue with your inquiry, sir.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Boone, so I think we left off. You had called your ex-husband,
Yes.
right? After you called your ex-husband, what happened after that?
I ended up falling asleep.
Okay. Do you remember waking up the next morning?
Yes.
Did you sleep in?
Not intentionally.
Okay. But you didn't get up at 8 o'clock, did you?
No.
Did you wake up closer to noon?
I believe so, yes.
Did you check the time?
No.
Now, did you hear your phone ringing?
Yes, my phone was ringing.
And did you answer it right away?
No.
Do you know approximately how many times it rang before you answered it?
I believe the call was about 3 times.
Did you know who was calling?
I figured it was my ex-husband.
And why would he be calling?
To make sure that I was still on schedule to pick up our son.
At 3 that afternoon?
Correct.
And he goes to school there close by?
Yes.
All right. When you woke up, did you stay in bed for a while?
For a little while, yes.
All right, tell the jury what happened when you got up.
I knew it was my ex-husband calling repeatedly. I didn't answer right away because one of our problems is that he doesn't understand that I'm doing things around the apartment and looking for jobs and so on and so forth. So I inevitably just let it ring, and I laid in the bed, and I figured that George was downstairs either drinking or looking for jobs, or may have just left. And so eventually I decided to get out of the bed and start moving to go downstairs. I was motivated enough to go downstairs. And when I went downstairs, it was very quiet. So I had the understanding, I believed that he had left. And
Did you check to see if where would he be looking for a job at?
Usually on the couch, he would have my son's laptop, and he and I, which we would share.
Y'all only have the son's laptop?
Correct.
And the TV was not working at this time?
The TV was not there.
Okay. So you thought he would be in the living room on the laptop?
Yes.
He was not there?
No.
Where else did you look for him?
I looked on the back porch. I went through the front door to see if my car was there, thinking maybe he had taken my car. I checked the bathroom, and when I was checking the bathroom, I saw the suitcase, and I remembered about the night prior, and I unzipped the suitcase
Let me
and
stop you there. You said you were in the bathroom when you saw the suitcase or coming out of the bathroom?
No, where our bathroom is, I would have to go to the bathroom here. And then when I turned around, I noticed the suitcase and I remembered.
How did you feel when you saw the suitcase?
I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that before.
Describe it for the jury.
I guess I was aghast, and I just can't describe the feeling.
Bless you.
It was terror to
Bless you.
a certain degree.
I'm sorry, say that again now.
It was terror to a certain degree. I just can't describe it in words, the feeling of remembering. And then he was still in there.
So what did you do?
I immediately unzipped the suitcase, and I was screaming, George, 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 and I was shaking him, and I pulled him out, and I stretched him out flat, and then I began instantly trying to do CPR, and then was trying to look for a pulse or a breath or just anything, and was just screaming his name over and over and over again, and come on, George, and I continued CPR, and I continued CPR, and he was gurgling, and
What color was it?
what color was he?
Yes.
He was purple.
At some point, did you call your ex-husband?
Yes, when he started to gurgle, and I knew that my ex-husband is notorious for bringing my son over in very inopportune times when George is possibly drunk or doing
Oh, my. So blame the
not
ex now.
appropriate for my son to see. And I just didn't know what to do. It was just a
Notorious
quick
ex-husband.
knee-jerk reaction. Ryan was kind of my go-to person because of my family being deceased, and I don't have anyone else that I can call. And I just wanted to ensure that he would not bring my son over in the process of all of this at some point.
So you called him.
I called him.
Did you ask him what to do? Or did you just tell him to come over?
I just told him to come over.
Did you tell him that you felt like George was dead?
Yes, I did.
And how far? You said it's 5 minutes from house to house?
Yes.
Did you call him back?
Yes, because he was taking so long. It felt seconds were hours. Yes. I'm still doing CPR at the same time in the process of it. I'm doing CPR, I don't know how many times.
Did he get there?
Yes.
Did he walk in?
Yes.
Did he walk out?
Yes.
What did he tell you to do?
Call 911.
What did you do?
I called 911.
Is that the recording we've heard here in this trial?
Yes.
Did you love George?
To this day.
Why did you love him?
George was very passionate. George was a very real person. George was nice to me.
Oh!
Good days.
Oh, okay. There you go.
George complimented me.
George was nice to me. Let me show you all these pictures of him
George
being nice to
and
me.
I were two bodies with one soul, he and I would always say. I don't believe that I've ever had a connection with anyone like I have with George.
Connected with
Did
a
you have
left
that
and a
connection
right.
with your ex-husband?
I did not.
Was it even close?
No.
George has some good traits, doesn't he?
Very much.
Did George have some bad traits?
He did.
Did you drink too much?
I did.
Did George drink too much?
Yes.
Tell the jury about George's drinking.
If George was able to, he would drink from sun up to sundown. And me having my son and trying to work and maintain the home and just have a normal life as best as I could. Somehow that upset George. And because I had a certain dollar amount from my divorce settlement, at one point it was from wine we could afford vodka. So a lot of the times he would take my card, my debit card, and go buy the large, we call them handles, of vodka, which is the big bottle. And sometimes he would finish that all off on his own throughout an entire period of a day into an evening. That's honestly where I thought that he was going to be that morning when I came
100-pound man drinking
notorious for
1.75 liters of vodka in one
drinking all the
day.
time.
Damn. I'm not believing that.
And you said you have an alcohol problem. George has an alcohol problem.
Yes.
How did George's drinking adversely affect you?
It would debilitate my ability to help him the way that I was always trying to help him, because it would be one good day, a day of survival, and then it would be another day where I'm having to peel him off of me and call 911.
Why would he get that way? Tell us his pattern as it relates to drinking and then
Object.
Approach.
Yeah, 1.5 liters of vodka in one day, and Mary, they do call them handles. A handle is 1.75. It's a magnum of wine is 1.5 liters. A handle of liquor is 1.75 liters. Such as my handle of vodka right here. We're saying 100-pound man drank this much vodka in a day. If I, as a big, fat Lithuanian, Irish, Scottish person, drank this in one day, I would die. Yeah, I'm Xing for doubt on that one. Yeah, I'm just gonna doubt that right out of the gate. Sorry, I'm not buying that for a second. Tolerance, yeah, tolerance to an extent, but this 1.75 liters. This is a substantial portion of the blood in your body. Yeah. Size and tolerance only goes so far. Size, the smaller you are, the less you can not even. Yeah, there's tolerance, but there's also science. Good way of putting that. All right, what do we got going here? Nancy Jennings with the $5 again. If so terrified, why go upstairs where she could be cornered? Well, I'm going to say it's because she's a woman. And if you watch any horror movies, you know that if there's an evil killer, a mass murderer, a ghost, a demon, a witch, whatever, Freddy Krueger, whoever it is or whatever it is, the women are always going to run to one of two places: the top floor of the house or the basement. Sorry for being flippant there, but that's just where the women in horror movies run. They run upstairs or they run into the basement. Again, so terrified, why go upstairs where she could be cornered and the front door was just feet away? You know, that is a thing we have to ask. If she believes she's in fear, why do all of this? Why not just get the F out? Now's my chance to get the F out. But alas, that is not what happened. And then she was aghast the next morning.
Objections overruled for now.
You already got the 3.5 years.
Yes,
Is there times when he would get to a state of intoxication where he would get violent against you?
quite often.
Judge, can I approach the witness?
Yes. As long as you show it to the state first, please.
I'm going to show you defense exhibit for identification P. It's 2 photographs. Could you look at those photographs and see if you recognize those?
I do.
Those 2 pictures of your body,
Yes,
do they show injuries to your body?
yes,
Were those injuries caused by George Torres?
yes,
Are those photographs a fair and accurate depiction of the injuries you sustained at the hands of George Torres?
on this occurrence, yes.
Do you remember this occurrence?
I don't, it was so often.
You don't remember a specific date?
I don't.
Uh-oh. Lack of
But
foundation.
you're sure that that's you?
Yes,
Is that the injuries that he, what's the injury to the rib cage?
I don't remember specifically. These may be the pictures. So, when we used to go over to his brother's house, one of his brothers and his,
Non-responsive.
Sustained.
You don't have to answer the question. Just go ahead. Do you know what happened to, did George cause these injuries?
yes,
All right. Were y'all both drinking at that time?
I don't remember on this instance.
You don't remember when it was. You don't remember if you're drinking. You don't remember anything about it. How do you know George did
What was
it to you?
pre-marked as P will be received into evidence without objection as Defense Exhibit 2.
I'm not sure. I know how to do this.
Mr. Owens, may I give it to Jack, just a number, please?
Yeah, odious patent. Let's just ask George. Oh,
Okay. Would you be so kind? Thank you.
And I need to ask permission to publish.
Yes, sir. You may do so.
This is Maxwell, Judge.
Looks like I think there's a wheel on the top where you can use to. There you go.
Ms. Boone, is that you?
Yes,
Are those injuries to your arm?
yes,
Were they caused by George Torres?
yes,
And during the same incident, is this you?
yes,
Is that an injury or bruise to your rib cage area
yes,
and your arm?
yes.
I'll show you identification, defense identification Q, see if you recognize that photograph.
Yes,
Is that your thigh?
yes,
Okay, do you remember this incident?
yes.
Can you tell the jury what happened?
I wanted to take my dogs for a walk and get off at the back porch.
Were y'all drinking?
Yes. And he was upset that I would rather go walk my dogs than sit there and continue to drink. So he slapped my thigh as hard as he possibly could and said that you're not going anywhere. And it was It was a good smack on my thigh.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the wound that you suffered as a result of George Torres slapping you on the thigh?
Yes.
Judge, I'd like to offer Q in evidence.
No objection.
What was pre-marked as Q will be received into evidence without objection as defense 3. You may, sir.
And for the jury's sake, is this the photograph you just mentioned?
Yes.
Let's show you identification, defense identification S. See if you recognize that photograph.
I do.
Is that your hand?
Yes.
Is that your blood on your hand?
Yes, it is.
Is that you standing, looks like in a room with flip-flops?
This is in the kitchen at Brian's house.
Okay, what happened there?
So George was very drunk, and I wanted to leave, and he's notorious for taking my car keys and putting them around his neck and my phone in his crotch area and telling me to come get them. And I really wanted to leave because of how drunk, and I knew the escalation of his anger. I didn't want to be there when it was at its peak. So I tried to take my keys from around him because he kept taunting me to take my keys, come get your keys. And so I attempted to go and get my keys.
Ooh.
And so he ended up getting a butcher knife. And I had an opportunity to call Brian to come and help me, to please come pick me up, to come get me. And of course, he brings my son with him. And so I'm in the parking lot asking Brian to please help me get my car keys away from him. And there's neighbors, and it's a scene at this point. And George comes to the doorway of my townhome wielding the butcher knife, saying that, do I curse?
Yeah.
That no one's going to take her fucking keys. No one's going to fucking come into this house. And he's waving the butcher knife. And I walked up to him, and I just wanted to leave. And my little son, who was, I believe, 7 or 8 at the time, just is screaming, give mommy her keys, give mommy her keys, let her leave. Brian was even trying to negotiate with him, saying, please, you know she'll come back, just let her leave. So I went up to try and take the keys from him, and he was pulling on them, and I ended up pulling harder, and he pulled them back again to try to pull me in the house, and I pulled them even harder, and it ripped my finger. And at one point, I had lost the fingernail, and the tip of my pinky was severely gashed.
Well, Judge, I'd like to offer this in evidence.
Okay.
What was it pre-marked as, counselor?
Just like S, but metaphorically.
What was pre-marked as defense S will be received into evidence without objection as defense 4.
Well, there's no question they were mutually abusive to each other. The question is, did something happen that day that justified her killing him?
For the jury's sake, is this the picture you referred to? Is that the nail? Was it on? Still on?
I believe so, yes.
I'm showing you a composite identification L, 2 photographs. Can you look at those photographs and tell the jury what they are?
I wanted to eat, and while he was drinking, went and made myself, as quickly as I possibly could, a microwave bowl of, I believe it was broccoli and cheddar soup. And I didn't get it out enough time, and he came up behind me and he slapped it out of my hand. And it was a 2nd-degree burn. I went to the hospital for it.
Are those fair and accurate depictions of the injury, the burn to your thigh?
Yes.
We'd like to offer identification L in evidence.
No objection.
What was pre-marked as L will be received into evidence without objection as defense 5. Yes, sir.
You had to go to the hospital as a result of these injuries to your thigh?
Yes, it
Okay.
was extremely painful.
Is that a depiction of the murder?
Yes,
Is that your thigh
my thigh, yes,
and your knee?
yes.
All right, I'm showing you composite exhibit for identification K, 4 photographs. Did you look at those all 4 before commenting? This is a longer story, isn't it? Go ahead and tell.
So George stabbed me in my leg. I almost bled to death.
All right, well, let's go back.
Almost bled to death.
I thought it would be nice to cook a nice steak dinner. We don't have 2 nickels to rub together, so I thought it would be special to make a steak dinner and baked potato and go above the normal whatever's left over in the refrigerator. And so I spent a lot of time doing that, and George is drinking the entire time and on the back porch.
You were drinking as well, were you not?
I was drinking. He was on the back porch while I was in the house and I was cooking. And it was one of those where maybe if I start making dinner now, it will be over at a particular time and we can go to bed at a reasonable time. And I even put it in the bedroom and had a movie set up for us to watch. So it would just kind of be dinner in bed. And then he came upstairs and saw that I had made the steak dinner, and I don't know how to describe how drunk he was, but it definitely was not George. And had him come lay on the bed, sit on the bed, and, you know, put the, I got the dogs out, and I presented him with the steak dinner and sat down and was getting ready to start playing the movie. And he starts being very rude and cursing the steak and finding fault with it. And then, you know, I'm having to encourage him to eat. You know, if you want me to cut it up for you, I will cut it up for you. Did you want some more sour cream for your potato? What can I do to make you happier? And then he started to pull on me and kept saying that, excuse me, that I just want to fuck you on the steak and fuck you on the potatoes. And I took offense to that, and I kept trying to encourage him to eat. I started to eat.
Was this just him really drunk and saying nonsense?
I want to smash you
I
like
don't
these
know why he was
taters.
so angry that day. I don't know if it's because I got steak. I don't know. Most of the time I don't know the reason why. I couldn't take it anymore. Obviously, I was not going to be able to eat, so I started to crawl off of the bed to leave, just the bedroom.
But you were having
And
steak
he told me
steak and
again that
potatoes
I'm
in
not
bed?
going anywhere, and he stabbed me in my leg, and it crunched. You could hear a noise that it made, and blood just started to come out of my leg, just like a fountain. So I got off of the bed. He's starting to freak out, and grabbed me a towel. I got a wet towel, and I'm sitting here holding the towel, and it's increasingly becoming even more and more saturated by the minute. It's just minutes. So I'm going through towels and towels, and I said, George, I think I need to go to the hospital. This is not stopping to bleed. This is serious. And he got on his knees and begged me, please don't call the police. Please don't call the police. please don't call the police. And inevitably, he went and got my car keys and put them around his neck again, and my cell phone. So I was not able to call anyone, and I wasn't able to leave in my car. So I figured I would just go downstairs, and I'm just going to go downstairs. And I had propped my foot up on the glass table that we had, and blood is just everywhere. Blood is everywhere. I can't keep up with the amount of blood, and I'm starting to feel very weak and really weird. And he comes downstairs and he's still begging me, please don't call 911. Please don't call 911. I kept telling him, there's something, this is serious. This is something. Because he knew that he would probably get arrested or something bad would happen to him. So I couldn't take him anymore. He was just all over me, and just, I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding very badly, and he's having me try to console him. And I kept telling him, please, I need to call 911, please. And I said, okay, just give me a moment. And I crawled upstairs to my son's bathroom, which is the furthest bathroom away from everything. And I remember holding onto the sink, and I looked into the mirror and my lips were blue. And I knew I needed help. I needed help. And he came upstairs looking
blue, you're not
frantic for
death,
me, calling my name. And
your lips are white. You're bleeding to death because there's no more blood in your body.
I turned to him and I said, please, I'm going to die. I've lost a lot of blood. There's something wrong. My lips are blue. Please, we don't have to call an ambulance. If you could just take me, I'll drive whatever I can do, please, to go to the hospital for this. And he said that before anything happens, I had to concoct a story in order for him to not be arrested or be in trouble when we did inevitably get to the hospital. So I'm sitting there with this blood-soaked towel with blue lips, trying to come up with a story of what I can tell them when I go down there so he's not in trouble, and telling him that it's okay. And I came up with the story of that we were sword fighting silly after drinking with our steak knives, and he accidentally punctured my leg. And from there...
How did you get to the hospital?
Originally, he told me to drive, and because of the amount of alcohol that he drank, and I couldn't. So he got into the driver's seat and drove me, and the entire time he's barking at me to make sure that I get the story straight. We're sword fighting, okay? We were drunk,
Did you go
being silly. Yes.
All right, and did you get treated there?
Yes. I was bloody, and
all right, let me show you the photograph. Can I show you this?
Yes.
All right, is this a fair and accurate depiction of the injury to your leg?
Yes. I had to go to 2 different hospitals for it.
And you lied to medical personnel about how this happened?
Yes, they brought in sheriffs and everything.
Was it consistent with, they brought in sheriffs? Did you have to answer to the law enforcement officers?
Yes,
Did you stick with the story that you and George had agreed?
I did.
Judge, I'd like to offer this composite exhibit.
Okay.
What was pre-marked as K will be received into evidence without objection as Defendant 6. You may publish, sir.
Thanks. And is this you at the hospital?
Yes.
Is this the stab wound to your leg?
Yes. Yes.
Is this a close-up of the stab wound?
Yes.
And did you hurt your foot?
No, due to the injury, I had other problems with the surgery.
Okay. But you eventually recovered?
Eventually, yes.
Do you have a scar to that effect?
I do.
Joe, could you step down and show the
Mr. J? You may.
Let's look at the scar.
There's a lock, sir. Out.
While she's coming down, Joe Joy says, thanks for doing this, Jeff. Oh, thank you for the 10 pounds. You're the best.
Is this the injury here?
There's carpet's always dirty. Know what I mean. Thanks, 200 watt. All right. There was a big scar on her leg. That's kind of gross.
All right, I'm showing you identification T. You recognize that photograph?
I do. Yes.
All right. Looks like you got an injury to your lip and to your face. Do you recall this event?
I was trying to sleep, and
Have y'all been drinking?
I'm not sure. I know that he had been drinking. This was one of the instances where I would go upstairs to try to go to sleep. And
But y'all drank together a lot, did you not?
sometimes, yes.
But there were times where he wanted to stay up and continue to drink and you wanted to go to bed.
Many times, yes.
You were done, he was not.
Correct.
Was that one of these times?
Yes.
So tell us what happened.
I'm sleeping in the bed, sound asleep, and he comes into the room and grabs me by my hair a lot of the times. And from here, he scratched me from trying to grab me, and then grabbed my hair and pulled me off of the bed, and then raked my face across the carpet. These are carpet burns.
To your lips?
Yes.
What about to the, it looks like the eyebrow area?
That's from where from grabbing me, scratched me, and got a hold of me by my hair.
Why was he mad at you?
Because I wasn't downstairs with him
He wanted you to be drinking with him?
all the time.
All right, I'd like to introduce identification to you now.
What was pre-marked as T will be received into evidence without objection. It's Defense Exhibit 7.
Oh, permission.
You may, sir.
Do you see the injury between the eyes and the injury to the lip,
Yes.
as you described?
Yes, and then the blood going down my eye, yes.
Showing you what
Flashbacks.
exhibit for identification, or defense exhibit. You, for identification,
Yes,
can you describe that photograph?
I can.
Go ahead.
This was the first time that I ever called 911. George and I had gone to
First
a bar
time
across
ever
the
I
street for
called
the long
911.
distance, and at some point, I asked a guy, or he asked me, somehow or another, it was over a cigarette. And he left, and I didn't know where he went, and the bartender said, oh, he left. He took your car and left. So,
Why would he do that?
well, I found out when I got home, it was because I spoke to another man. And so I paid the tab, and I walked home, and he's sitting on the back porch with the handle of vodka. And I was walking on eggshells and terrified, and kind of treaded lightly when I came in, and he acted all natural and fine. So I didn't know the reason why that he had just gotten up and left with my car. So then he calls me a whore, and then he calls me a slut, and then he calls me a cunt, and gets up and pushes me.
Well, she doesn't have
And
problems
he
swearing
pushed
now.
me with both of his hands so hard that we have this little area where our washer and dryer is, and there are metal doors that are on it. And he pushed me into the metal door. And then I fell back and he got his knees on top of me on my arms here. So I was pinned down and was starting to strangle me and hit my head up against the metal closet over and over and over and over and over it again and calling me a fucking whore and you're such a slut and fuck you and everything. And my tongue was flopping out of my mouth and I thought I was going to bite my tongue off. And because of the amount of noise, I guess my head was making on the metal door, he slid me down and got back on me and then started to strangle me again. And it was on, we have carpet, but it's like concrete. And I was able to get my arms out from underneath and grab his throat and get him off of me. So I got him off of me and I pushed him off and he came up and he goes, "You fucking bitch." And he stomped my face. And the next thing I know, I woke up. I obviously blacked out. I'm obviously, I guess, yes. And he was passed out on the floor. And I woke up frantic looking for my phone and I immediately called 911.
Okay. The police arrived on that incident?
Yes, they did.
Is this a fair and accurate depiction of the injury you sustained as a result of him kicking you?
Stomping, yes.
So she got curb stomped.
All I saw was his heel.
We ask that this be identification you be admitted today. Okay.
What was pre-marked as you will be received without objection is defense 8.
Ouch. Yeah, see, the jury isn't going to like seeing this, but they've still got to explain, the defense still has to explain why she was justified in killing him that day.
That's a couple of days later.
And that's the bruising from the kicking of the eye?
Yes.
Now, the police were called, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to go through the jury.
Uh-oh. Yeah, don't lose your notes there, counselor.
I'm showing you identification V, defense. Could you recognize that? You have to speak it.
Yes.
Can you identify that picture?
Yes.
Is that your leg?
Yes.
And is that was like the injury to your knee?
Yes.
Is that a fair
Dang it, my leg is starting to cramp up. I've been sitting down for 18 hours today.
Yes.
I gotta make a little just stretchy stuff here.
I was
I'm here,
trying to
I'm
get
just
off of
not
the
on
back
camera.
porch, and he grabbed me and pushed me, and it was a rock or a really sharp piece of mold from him grabbing me and pushing me onto the ground, and I guess I just happened to hit my knee just right on whatever it was.
Were y'all drinking?
Yes.
Why did he push you?
Because I wanted to get off of the back porch.
And he wanted to stay out there?
Yes.
He wanted you to be with him? What's the deal with him wanting to be with you all the time?
Insecurity, I guess. I don't know.
Did you do your best to please him?
And then some, yes.
All right, I'd like to introduce an evidence identification.
Okay.
What was pre-marked as V will be received into evidence without objection is defense 9.
Now, Ms. Boone, were you treated for this, or did you self-treat? Show the jury now.
No, that was just, I got the first aid kit that I had for my son and I just cleaned it up.
You what?
I said I got the first aid kit that I had for my son and I just cleaned it up and put a Band-Aid on it.
I'm showing you identification W. Defense identification. You recognize that photograph?
Yes.
What is that photograph of?
This is a photograph of my arm.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of your arm with some type of injury?
Yes.
Do you remember this event?
Multiple times, yes.
Well, I'm talking about this isolated event where this photograph was taken, the injury you sustained.
Yep.
Who injured your arm?
George Torres.
You remember this event?
Yes.
Did you tell the jury about it?
This was one of the instances where I would try to pull away from him, and I don't know how my arm started to do this, but from him pulling from this way, how hard he would pull, with me trying to struggle to get away from him, it would leave these bloody under the skin splotches.
So he wouldn't hit you sometimes, he would just grab you and pull you.
Yes, from me trying to pull away from him, that's the point of it doing this, from me pulling away from him.
Now, this is one of the many times y'all were both intoxicated.
I mean, I can't say for sure that, yes, but whenever it would happen, yes, we would be drinking.
Identification W in evidence.
What was pre-marked as W will be received into evidence without objection as Defense Exhibit 10.
Again, they've got to show there was something on that day that happened and put her in imminent fear of bodily harm or death.
Sustained.
Tell me, you said it's just from the grip, him losing his grip?
Yes, it would be from me pulling away from him, and whatever under the skin it was that it was disturbed from the amount of pressure of him holding and then pulling from me would create those on my arms.
Okay. Going to show you Defense Exhibit X for identification.
Yes.
And what is that picture of?
This is a picture of my ear, side of my head.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction
Yes.
of the injury you sustained by George Torres?
Yes.
Do you remember this event?
Yes.
Were you drinking?
I at the time was not drinking.
On this event, you had not consumed any alcohol.
I mean, I may have earlier. This was another. I was in the bed trying to sleep.
Where was George?
Downstairs drinking.
All right, and so you were wanting to go to bed, and he wanted you to stay down there with him?
Yes, I was in the bed.
All right, tell the jury what happened on this event.
I believe this was the instant where I was in the bed and I used to barricade the door with our dresser.
Why didn't you just lock it?
All of the locks were broken in my house.
Or
They were from George taking them in, including my son's. At one point, I could seek refuge in my son's room, but he broke that one as well.
what? Tell me, explain how that happens. Tell the jury. We can't read your mind.
George wants me, which he has told me numerous times, that I am to be with him at all times and doesn't like to be apart from me or away from me. So whenever it was even just to go to the bathroom, sometimes he would go with me. And you have to understand, I have a 2-story, 900 square foot townhome, so there's not many places to go. So it just happened to be that it would be upstairs or downstairs, or I'd be in a particular room or not. So inevitably.
Did you want some time away?
Yes, I did. Even if it were just him upstairs or me downstairs or vice versa. So I rarely got to sleep. This was one of the instances because I had barricaded the door with our, 200-pound dresser that we had. And then I had my nightstand barricaded up against the bed, to where it was even more difficult from the prior times of him breaking in. And he would, I don't know how he would ever do it, but he would get himself in through the crack of the door that he would be able to wedge the dresser in the nightstand. And he pulled me out of the bed and told me I was going to die. And I believe it's this incident, and punched me, and
Punched you in the side of the head?
yes, in
Was
my
it-
temple and everything.
Was it an open fist or a closed fist, or do you know?
It was fully closed.
What's an open fist?
Like identification X introduced in the
It was pre-marked as X will be received without objection as Defense Exhibit 11.
I'm showing you this exhibit. That's you?
Yeah.
Did you get any treatment for that? Medical treatment?
I know the police came, but I don't remember. I remember it hurt for a good solid 2 weeks after that.
Was this one of the incidents where the police were called?
Yes.
Now, do you recognize this photograph, which is identification Y?
Yes.
Was that the date of the incident? The date of this event?
No, it happened prior. I mean, but this picture that was taken of the,
This picture was taken, would have been taken February 24th of 2020.
yes,
And do you recognize that as your close-up facial?
yes,
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how your face looked on February 23rd of 2020?
yes.
What's the significance of this picture?
Again, because I was sleeping, George was upset with me and came in with a metal curtain rod and bent it and snapped it in half and then crunched me in the forehead with it. And it started to beat the furniture that was in the bedroom. This is probably a good month before or after it had happened, before I really do believe that I should have gotten stitches, but I was not allowed to go to the hospital.
Judge, I'd like identification Y introduced in evidence.
It was a gash.
What was pre-marked as Y will be received into evidence without objection as Defense 12.
Is that the same curtain rod that you mentioned in the 2-hour interrogation video?
Which they didn't take, yes.
This was photographs that were taken.
That's a gash.
I guess it would have been the crime scene. Was it the crime scene?
That could be from anything.
I don't remember who it was, but yes, someone did on the day of the incident.
Was it different from the extraction, the phone extraction expert? Was it somebody different?
I think.
But is it this Boone right here?
Yes. And remember, that's a month later.
And then on that same date, same time, they took this photograph as well, which is identification R.
Yes.
All right, and what does that do?
I believe it's from holding the baseball bat, and
Is that an injury to your hand?
it's a bruise.
Was that taken, February 23rd, 2020, when the investigators came out on
February 24th, I believe.
February 24th? And I'd like to introduce identification on the evidence.
What was pre-marked as Defense R will be received into evidence without objection as Defense 13. Yes, sir.
This is not a great photograph, copy of the copy.
Yeah, it's not a great picture.
But February 24th of 2020, is that what you were wearing? Is that you?
Yes.
Okay. And there's some discoloration up here of your palm. see that?
I do.
Is that from you jabbing him with a baseball bat?
Sustained.
Do you know how you suffered that injury?
I believe it's from holding the baseball bat.
Can you help him with it?
Yes, trying to get his hand back in.
I'm showing you defense identification in. Just like 5 photographs. Can you look at those?
Exactly. She injured herself beating him with a baseball bat.
See if you recognize them. All right, well, let's take them now.
Yes.
And are those fair and accurate depictions
Yes.
as a composite of the events that occurred in relation to George Torres and your TV?
Yes. Yes.
All right, are those stills of a videotape that you took?
Yes.
And is that videotape, was it on your phone?
Yes.
So when law enforcement seized the phone, they would have had access to this video?
I believe so, yes.
And tell me about it.
That's the problem, Stacy Schmidt.
Lucas liked to watch cartoons and play video games on the big screen, this is the big screen. And I would have to call Brian to come over sometimes to help me figure out the Fire Stick and whatever platform or whatever it was that Lucas was trying to view his shows and video games on. And I don't remember how George found out that Brian had come over. I believe because it was actually fixed and he knew that I didn't know how to do it. Found out that Brian had come over to fix it, and
Was he jealous of Brian?
I don't know if he was jealous of Brian. I think that he had a fear that I somehow would go back to Brian. So I think by Brian helping me with things for Lucas, he just didn't want him to be interacting with me at all.
So Lucas wasn't over here this day, was he?
No.
Brian wasn't over here this day.
He may have been, I can't remember when he actually fixed the television for Lucas.
But y'all were drinking this day.
I know he was for a fact, yes.
Chances are you were.
Probably so, yes.
Okay.
I would agree.
So how did it end up badly?
He accused me of sucking Brian's dick and told me that he was going to break my face with the bat and that he was going to make me unrecognizable to my son with the bat. And then told me that he's going to destroy my fucking television. And then I was going to remove it from the apartment. And if I didn't, I was going to be, again, unrecognizable to my son.
So did he grab the bat?
Absolutely. He already had that in his hand, and he told me that I had to videotape it.
Did you videotape it voluntarily?
No.
All right, but there is a video, but I'm going to go ahead and ask Judge if I could introduce this identification of these 5 photographs with the evidence.
Okay. Is it O or N?
I have O being a composite for 5 photos, just not having a single photo.
We're moving in O. Okay. All right. What was pre-marked as O will be received into evidence without objection as defense 14.
All right, so these are some stills from the video. This was George. That particular day, holding the bag.
Yes, telling me that I'm going to take the television out once he destroys it.
He wanted you to take the television out.
That or I was going to help him, but either way, I was taking it apart and removing it.
And what is this picture of?
In the process of him destroying my television.
While you're videotaping.
Correct.
Is that the result?
No. After that, he ripped it off of the TV stand.
Did you later pass out?
Yep, like he usually does.
What's he drinking then?
I don't know. Vodka and something, I'm sure.
I'm showing you identification N. See if you recognize that.
In the living room, in the stairwell.
All right, were those, was that a photograph taken by a crime scene?
Correct.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of your living room and stairwell?
Yes.
And I'm going to try to introduce this as identification 9 as an exhibit.
It's pre-marked as M, correct?
It's got N.
N, I apologize. What was pre-marked as N will be received into evidence without objection as defendant's 15.
Can you tell us a little bit about this room?
This is my living room. This wall that we have over here with the hearts, that's where we would display all of our artwork. We were in the process of taking it down to add more, so he could continue to be entertained. The bookshelf over here is my son's bookshelf with all of his toys and little guns and musical instruments. He's got a little karaoke machine down here, his guitar. The stand right here with the red bucket on it, that was the television stand. And then my back porch area and the dog bed here.
Okay. And it looks like in front of the bookshelf at the foot of the stairs is that a doggy?
It's a baby gate, but my dogs would wander upstairs sometimes and go to the bathroom sometimes when we couldn't get them out. So I would, at nighttime, or whenever we weren't home, make sure that they didn't go upstairs. And plus Penny was blind.
There's an allegation that you pushed George down the stairs
Apparently.
or got him in the suitcase upstairs and pushed him down the stairs.
Supposedly.
Did that occur?
Absolutely not.
Is that bookshelf disturbed in any way?
No, nor the plant next to it.
I'm showing you composite, 2 photographs, identification M. Did you look at those 2 and see if you recognize them?
Yes, this is me sitting on the back porch with my dogs. And as you can see that we are both drinking.
All right, who's taking the picture?
I'm guessing George is, or maybe it's one that Lucas, no, Lucas wasn't on here, so it had to be George.
How can you tell y'all are drinking?
Because there's a cup here and then he has a beer.
And there's 2 dogs, there's one sitting next to you. Who's that?
That's Penny, she's the blind dog. I used to have to pick her up to put her somewhere so she would stay there because she was unfamiliar with the area, especially since we moved from my marital home to the townhome. So most of the time Penny would be close or next to me.
Who's next to the fence?
This is little guard dog Tess. She was the deaf dog. And this is the fence here.
Well, I'll show them.
Okay. But this is Tess, and then this is deaf, blind. Penny and Tess.
All right, and then the second one.
This is Tess on the back porch taking a nap. She was never far from me.
All right, when George was sober, how did he treat the dogs?
Nice. I don't know if he was a pet person, but I mean, he was nice. If I needed him to feed them, he would feed them.
Were there times when George was drinking where he would threaten to harm the dogs?
All the time.
You don't have to tell the jury.
One of the worst threats was Penny being blind. He would actually leave the gate open in the back. He wouldn't threaten me to do it. He would actually do it on nights that I had to go up to sleep or I fled the night before or something. And would tell me that he hoped that I would come back and find her bloated body dead in the pond across the way from our townhome. And Tess was notorious if I wasn't there to go look for me, and would say that he would hope that I would have to scrape up her dead body from the street that was out in front of our apartment complex.
Why was George upset with you? Why would he threaten to harm the dogs?
Anything that he could get to try to have some type of hold over me.
Control.
And he knew I loved my dogs very much, especially that they were handicapped.
Were they afraid of him?
And yes. Penny would hear his voice and instantly go underneath the dining room table that we had. Tess was always fractious and very, very quick with his movements, but she was never far away. They never showed their teeth. They never growled. Tess would occasionally bark, but it was very rare. And he used to kick them and just...
For what reason would he kick them?
Penny would try to find me because she's blind.
Speculating in the mind at all.
Sustained.
I'd like to move identification.
Speculation as to what's going on in the
Was
mind of
pre-marked
the
as
dog.
M will be
I like
received
that.
into evidence without objection as defense 16.
Oh, when they break for cross, we got to talk.
Can you describe this for the jury?
This is again is our back porch, and this is the fence that I made for the dogs to have a little bit extra space. Penny is next to me. She's the line dog, and then Tess is down here at guarding the gate.
Are these fake rabbits? Is that
Yes.
in here?
I used to call my son when he was a baby. He was my bunny rabbit.
Overruled.
He was my bunny rabbit, so I used to collect bunny rabbits, and so I have rabbits here and there throughout my house and in my little garden area.
Or this is the alcohol you are consuming?
Yes.
And this is a close-up of which one?
This is Tess. She's the deaf dog.
How old were these dogs at that time, 2020?
Gosh, maybe 9, maybe 10.
Yes.
All right, they're approaching while I'm chewing. Oh, we've got a lot to talk about when they finish here. Toodly Pip says, did she step on a bee? or did George make her step on a bee? 200-watt studio, when we make love, you're as lumpy as your mashed potatoes. Yeah. 200-watt studio again. We're not getting to cross today, are we? There's less than an hour left, so there's a possibility we ain't gonna get to cross today. There is that possibility. Duncan, Idaho, the jury, Your Honor, we've heard enough. Our verdict is not guilty, and we would like to award the defendant damages to be paid by the decedent. It can't happen, but Adara the Wholesome, the defense is literally just the argument to free Hat McCullough from the South Park. He unalived 23 babies in self-defense, of course, and is innocent. And Scarlett Sullivan, member for 2 months. Thank you for staying up with us, Jeff. It is 5 a.m. here. Thank you for staying up with us, Jeff. Also, thank you for the gifted memberships ×3. So generous of your chat. You're part of the chat, Scarlett. You're part of the Vice Squad, so you are equally as awesome as the chat because you are the chat. But a lot of you are noticing some of the things that I'm noticing that is going to be problematic.
It's 4:03. By show of hands, would you like to take an afternoon break at this point in time?
Yes.
Okay, court sees no hands.
No.
We may have to work also a little bit past 5 o'clock, maybe going between 5:45 and 6 this evening.
Oh, no.
I know juror third from the right, you may have to make a phone call as to that. Does anyone have any concerns about working a little bit later today till 6 o'clock? If you have those concerns, please raise your hand at this time. All right, court sees no hands.
Oh, come on, court.
Are you in a position to step out to see if you can get assistance with childcare, or is that not an
go to
option
work
for today?
I'm actually all set for today. She's already taken them off.
You are? Okay. All right. Excellent. Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate you all. With that, Mr. Owens, you may continue.
I'll stay as long as I can, but I doubt I'll be able to finish today because I got to go to work in a couple hours.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, juror fifth from the right.
Are we going to get a break before the 5:45 mark? Because if not, then yes, I would like a break now.
Then I tell you what, let's go ahead and take it at this time. We'll give you all a 15-minute recess. It's 4:04. Hang on. Don't leave yet. I got to tell you a couple things. It's 4:04. We'll see you back here at 4:20. Same instruction as before. Please don't conduct any independent investigation or research as the person, places, things, or charge involved, and don't have any discussions amongst yourselves or anyone else. We'll see you in a couple minutes. Thank you very much.
Jury exiting.
I've got an hour, guys. We'll have to make up the hour tomorrow. The last hour. You can't do this, Judge. You can't do this. You can because you're the judge, but you know what I mean. Well, hell.
If Ms. Boone needs to use the facilities, we might as well take advantage of that at this time. All right, court will be in recess till 4:20. Thank you.
All right, they're going to take 15 minutes. Like I said, I can do this to the top of the hour. I've got like 55 minutes left, and then I've got a hard out. Something about being a practicing lawyer that I'm going to be dead tomorrow. All right. Well, while this 15-minute break is happening, let's do a few things. There's a few things I want to talk about. His court does not recognize the gentleman in Korea. Yeah, right. All right, let's in small in this. Got to shackle up to go to the John. All right. Where do I want to start? As I was saying, some of you in chat are noticing the same things that I'm noticing. And I think they're potentially problematic. We'll start with Lindsay, I guess, here. I got punched once by my ex. That was it. Now, people stay in abusive relationships for a lot of reasons. Don't want to speculate, but there's a lot going on in this relationship. There's a lot going on. David Nelson says they both drank and abused each other. There's no question that this was an abusive relationship, both directions. They've both been arrested, but the other one always refuses to cooperate, so no charges get brought. But George was in trouble more often for this. He was on probation when this happened. So nobody's questioning that George did bad things to her. And the prosecution is going to get to cross-examine her and impeach her credibility. And I'm sure they're going to
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for watching our Sarah Boone.
Sorry, we don't need your advertisement. And I'm sure they're going to try to impeach her credibility and show that it was both ways. This doesn't look good. The jury does not like to see all these images of her with the cuts and the bruises and all this going on. But Roland Arthur made a very good point that this was one thing I noticed. It's like, by making it this crazy, the jury just might stop believing her. Why would they go this far? I think this is a real concern. This thing you've just mentioned here, Roland, I think is a concern. Yeah. And I was thinking this a lot. Like, at some point, the jury is just going to be going, for fudge sakes, why are you there? There's got to be a reason you're sticking around. If this is happening to you so often and to this extent, at some point they're going to go, come on. So I think this is a very, very real risk. I'm perhaps not articulating it as well as I should, but I agree. It just might be too much to the point where they go, all right, look, you stuck around. Sunny Day said, my dad died 2/23/20, the day before my birthday. I feel you there. My mom died on my dad's birthday. So happy birthday, Dad. And it's also the day that legendary guitarist Stevie Ray Vaughan died. So Stevie Ray Vaughan, my guitar legend, and my mother both died on my father's birthday. Yeah. So condolences for that, but I feel your pain. And I think there's also some, shall we say, embellishments in her testimony. And this mystery singer, and I picked up on the same one. She was 100 pounds. Well, she was 140. So a little over half, but she's pushing around a 200-pound dresser. And he's 100 pounds, but he's forcing it out of the door and trying to get in. That's a pretty big dresser for her to be just pushing around up against the wall, etc. And all joking, all BS aside, men or women, if you're in a situation anywhere even remotely like this, get out. Just get out. Do what it takes so that you don't end up like Sarah or George. It's not whatever it is not worth it. There's places to get help. There's things you can do to extricate yourself from the situation. But get out. Don't let it get to this point. Seriously. It's sad that we're here. It's sad that any of this is happening to either of them. And just don't. But all of this said, what it comes down to is something that has been raised by several people. All of these things don't describe the day of the incident. What was, and we've used this term so many times, what was the overt act on that day? They're saying the overt act was him escaping, like, oh my God, he got really pissed, so now he's escaped. And then because all of these previous things have happened, all these these pictures we've showed you of all these other incidents. She knew that if he gets out of the suitcase, he's going to, make her unrecognizable to her son or take her life. So she had to leave him there. That contradicts so much of the story that's been told thus far, including I accidentally fell asleep. If you're fearing he's going to get out, why aren't you getting out? Going upstairs, and she said she was waiting for him to get out. That's what she has said every chance she got before today. Today is the first time she's making the argument that she wasn't waiting upstairs. It's like, I was waiting for him to get out so he would come up, we would have sex, and then go to sleep. But now she's upstairs in fear for her life that he might be getting out of the suitcase. And then she falls asleep. If I'm fearing for my life and I'm afraid someone is literally going to kill me, I doubt that I would be asleep. I doubt I would accidentally fall asleep. First of all, I'd get the F out of the house, first of all. But supposing I stuck around for some reason, I would imagine sleep wouldn't come easily. Yeah. And Ants the Man says, apparently a finger qualifies as an overt act now. I keep thinking of the hand from the Addams Family. Yes, the hand from the Addams Family. Where'd the Addams Family go? There it is. Well, and I think the prosecution has articulated it very well. Now he's got to do it in front of the jury. He's got to say, look, there has to be this overt act that puts her in fear of imminent or immediate bodily harm or death. And she's saying that was when he was starting to escape from the suitcase. That was the act, because then she knew what would happen. But he's in the suitcase because of her. Even if you say that he climbed in voluntarily, or they both agreed he should climb in and she zipped it up. When he starts saying, Sarah, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, you've created the dangerous situation. You've created you've become the aggressor when you're actively not getting him out. So as the prosecutor said, she created the dangerous situation. If what she's saying is correct, she created this situation where he was getting pissed and was going to come after her. And he's saying you can't be the aggressor and also say you're the victim. They both gave some weird anecdotes and some weird comparisons and some weird examples. But yeah, you can't do something that causes someone to react towards you and then you say, oh, no, help, I'm the victim here. He's got to emphasize that point, that she committed a felonious assault. She also committed the felony of false imprisonment. And now, well, hell, no wonder George is going to be pissed if that actually happened. See, I'm kind of falling into the wow, these are really powerful pictures things. Nobody likes to see that. But you have to keep in mind what happened that day. What happened immediately before she started whacking him with a baseball bat or flipping him upside down or cursing at him. What was it that caused her to go, oh my God, I'm going to die? And did she create that situation or not? Let's look at a couple more of the super chats that came in here and a couple of the other comments. Where are we at? Iron Man Jeff says, Emu Warrior, member for 25 months. That's over 2 years. Wow. Time flies. Iron Man Jeff, following about an hour behind. Enjoy your Z's. Well, thank you so much. An hour from now, when you see this come up. Trent Thoreau with a $5 Super Chat says, not only is she staying in this abusive relationship, but she's also bringing her son around this horrible abuser. Doesn't add up. Again, that was another thing that I wanted to mention is, yeah, if it's so horrible, why are you bringing your children into this? Why, why are you allowing this to go on around your child? Island puzzles don't kill people. People kill people, especially if it's missing a piece. It's a 999 piece puzzle. Oops. Duncan, Idaho, what do you got here? Jeff, they were in that situation because they both created it for themselves. They gravitate towards that ugly lifestyle. They were both not great people. Absolutely agree with you. Neither one of them are super awesome people. And as we saw from Sarah's testimony so far, her ex-husband is notorious for bringing her child around at inappropriate times. When she's calling and saying, can you come over and take care of this situation that I've created or contributed to? Can you come over? And then she brings the son. He's like, you're bringing this 7-year-old around. What's she supposed to leave the freaking 7-year-old at home alone for God knows how long while he caters to your needs? So he's nefarious. George is nefarious. Apparently, George can't do anything without drinking 24 hours a day, according to her story. There's just so much going on that, and it's everybody's fault except for hers. Again, she grudgingly admits that she was drinking sometimes. And it seems like every one of these stories, she eventually ended up, okay, there was a couple, but most of those stories and pictures ended up with her saying, yeah, we were drinking. We were drinking. For someone who doesn't like to drink and doesn't want to drink, she seems to have been drinking on each of these occasions, except for one or two. The judge threw Boone a bone. Yeah. And Brian's I don't get Brian. Well, I kind of do. Brian was sort of like the old me where you would do things just to appease someone. I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Conflict averse. He's conflict averse. Rather than hear Sarah spout her BS and continue to berate him and probably say horrible things to their child about him, he's like, all right, she's not my problem anymore, but I'll just go fix this. I'll just go do that. I'll just do the other thing so that, I don't have to hear it from her. He doesn't seem to be the strongest of guys, but she seems to have, she uses him. She's clearly using him. She's involved in a relationship with somebody and she's inviting him to come over to the house to fix this, to fix that, to work on this, work on that. And he does it. There's a time when you got to go, hey, you're not my problem anymore. If it doesn't involve our child, I ain't fixing it. Okay, Matt, Red Queen with the $10. This is actually a case of pre-planned suitcase murder. She set the stage all day. I bet she sent him to the store for more wine to make me sure he was really drunk. It's a possibility. And now the other thing, I think that I was under the impression that there was one bottle of this one, this 1.5 liter bottle of wine. They had about half of it left. And then they introduced a second one. But it seems like she said there was a half a bottle. Then they went together and got a bottle. Then he went back later and got a bottle. So we're looking at 2.5 bottles of wine. So that's like a gallon of wine. That's over a gallon of wine. That's basically 5 bottles. If you take the 1.5 liter bottle, there was half left. And then you get 2 more bottles. You're looking at 4 normal bottles of wine, which is more than we started out with. I believe the first statement was they drank a bottle of wine. Well, not even a bottle of wine. So they went from less than a bottle of wine.
All right, we're back on the record. Case number 2020 CF
Or large bottles
2603,
of
State of Florida. Sarah Boone. State.
David Dexter on behalf of the state. William James for the state.
Defense.
James Owens for the Boone. County Henderson for Sarah Boone. Kevin Beck on behalf of Sarah Boone.
All right. Ms. Boone, let's go ahead and bring you back up to the witness stand, please.
Judge, we're going to try to go with 6 today.
Yes, sir. That's the plan.
I've got like half an hour left. I'm sorry to abandon you with only an hour left, but I'll watch it tomorrow as part of
All
tomorrow's
right, we're ready to
show.
bring back in our jury.
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
Oh, Judge.
Hold on.
Oh, she's up there. I'm sorry.
Uh-oh, she just showed emotion. She smiled and laughed. Mark off Sarah shows emotion on your bingo card. And hide and seek. And notice again, this is one thing that's just changed, fundamentally changed. Before this, the time the police arrived for all the interrogations, it's not intentional, it's not intentional, it's not intentional. But now that she's arguing this battered spouse, she meant to do it. This not intentional thing is now off the table. She's not even mentioning it because, as the judge said, you can't say it's an accident and then say he deserved it. Duncan Idaho with a 5. Imagine living with and sleeping in the same bed with someone who wants to get rid of you. Those living conditions would twist a person up.
Again, members of the jury, if you could. Oh, wait.
And Adara the Wholesome. This defense is literally just. Oh, we already read that one a while ago. Yeah. All right. So they're gonna. There's something going on that the sheriff needs to talk to. What's up?
Okay.
Nothing.
Can the parties approach for a moment?
All right. Got another thing going on. What about the fact that George played with Lucas more than Sarah? Yeah. So. And these are the things they just have to eviscerate her on cross-examination over. It wasn't intentional, but now you're relying on a defense that it's intentional.
All right, members of the jury, again, if you could just raise your hands to confirm that you complied with the court's instructions during the last break. All right, record reflect all hands have been raised. All right, with that, Mr. Owens, you may continue your inquiry, sir.
Just based on the court statements, identification A, I'd like to, this is one of the photographs that we introduced.
Oh no, they're embiggening the pictures. These are the pictures we've already seen. Just sticking them in front of the juror for jury for impact.
And then this is your living room. This is identification C, the blow up.
Yes.
Identification D.
Oh yes,
TV.
yes, Stacy Schmidt. If you argue battered spouse, you killed him in self-defense. You meant to do it. You can't say it was all an accident, but I did it in self-defense. If you do something in self-defense, you intend to do it. So she intended to leave him in there. She didn't accidentally leave him in there, as she said all the time until today.
Knife wound. Identification G. Is this the curtain rod?
Yes.
Identification H. This is the eye.
Oh, I remember that, but that argument's gone. They can't make that argument anymore. they can no longer say it was not intentional. It has to be intentional to rely on the battered spouse syndrome defense.
All right. So your face shot,
Yes.
with a lip, and the eyebrow. Identification B, and this is the back patio of the dog.
Yes.
Camel bounce a little bit. It's been. Let me go back to the night earlier in the evening when I think y'all may have been out on the back patio and you had suggested to George to call the children, but then I think, did he call his brother or his brother called George? Do you remember?
George called his brother.
Okay. And you made a statement about tell him something. Explain that to the jury.
I told him to tell his brother about you choking me the other day. This is a separate choking incident. We had been drinking, and I wanted George to tell him, but he didn't tell him, so I said it in the background, so he would be aware.
What did you tell him?
Tell him why you choked me, or that you choked me.
Okay. Now, you heard the testimony of the two neighbors, the boys that lived next to you,
Yes,
and you heard that they were actually questioned. I think the audio, they were audio interviewed. You heard from Detective Coxell. I think it was a couple of days later on the 25th of February or 27th of February.
yes,
And you heard their testimony earlier this week.
yes,
Where they hear a kind of a thumping sound starting at the top of the steps, ending at the bottom.
yes,
Have they got the night wrong?
yes.
So explain to the jury that.
So it was the night before. Again, I was sleeping, and in the middle of the night with the door barricaded, he came in and ripped me out of the bed. And first got me with one hand, and then got both hands and pulled me completely off of the bed. And then, like a caveman, had my hair like this and was going down the stairwell, taking me with him to come downstairs so I could sit and drink with him.
Do you believe that's the noise that the two neighbor boys heard?
I absolutely do.
And it was just the night before?
Correct.
Well, that's a convenient story. Very convenient.
Now, some of the time when this abuse occurred, you called the police.
Yes,
And other times the police were not called.
correct.
I want to refer to you the first time, I believe, you mentioned the 911 call. I believe that was July 25th of 2018.
Yes,
And that was the incident in which Georgia kicked you in the eye,
stopped me. Yes.
stomped you in the eye. and you had grabbed his neck?
Yes, I was able to get my arms out from him pinning me down with his knees and grab his neck.
So law enforcement came and investigated,
Yes,
and both of you were arrested.
correct.
Do you recall asking the officer when you were arrested, why am I being arrested?
Many times, yes.
Do you recall asking the officer, why am I being arrested?
Yes.
And do you recall making any other statements to law enforcement as to why you did what you did to George?
That was the first time ever that I actually officially fought back.
Did you tell the officer that you were fighting back?
Yes, because I was completely shocked that I was getting arrested because of it.
Now, on the 2-minute video, the suitcase video, you mentioned to him, I think you said something, I can't breathe. He said, I can't breathe. And you said, that's how I feel when you're choking me. Were you referring to an isolated incident of the night before, 2 nights before, or whatever, or were you referring to in general?
In general, the more than 2 or 3, 4 times that he had done it.
Okay. And then the part about cheating, he didn't physically cheat on you.
No, he did not.
Okay. And just, I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but what are you referring to there?
George was, I believe, addicted to pornography, and a lot of that would be found on my phone from him supposedly wanting to call about job interviews. And as a solution, I sat him down and I explained to him, to me, that's you visualizing yourself with someone else, or at least having a pleasurable moment with someone else.
Take the moral high road,
watching other
Sarah.
people. And to me, I told him that I considered that cheating on me.
Okay. And so he would download that on your phone?
Yes.
How did you stay? You got to tell the jury.
As anyone who has ever been in love, or when you love someone, or
Don't ask the jury questions.
primarily someone or something, you go above and beyond, and you tolerate and you endure and you persevere, and you try to make that person as spectacular as you possibly can, no matter the sacrifice that you may have to go through, to serve someone else in a positive light so they can be better people for themselves, and to just make them a happier person. And love is very strong, and love is very deep, and love, I believe, is not fully understood in a lot of ways for how different people react to it. And I very much deeply and passionately love George. I love him to this day.
Did you not want to be alone?
At the beginning, through my divorce, it was very nice to have him around, and he was a man to me, and I felt protected, and he's very nice, and as lame as it sounds, he used to compliment me, and it made my day. So, yes.
During that period of time, when you first started seeing George, would it be fair to say that you had low self-esteem?
Yes.
Now, we talked about this previous arrest where you told the officer you were fighting back and you got arrested.
He's getting out in front of her arrest. That's
Now,
good.
we'll talk about your conversations with law enforcement. But first, I want to ask you, why did you go to the police station that day when you were interrogated there? We saw the 2-hour video. Tell the jury.
The day of the incident, the detective cop cell gave me her business card with her personal cell phone number on it and said if I happened to remember anything or anything that I would like to add to the day for me to not hesitate to give her a call. So throughout the rest of the evening.
All right, I'm fading, people.
Something was off. I didn't feel comfortable with what she told me. And how
All right, I'm fading. I need to pull the plug here. Right. So what we're going to do, I apologize. I'm not able to go the next hour and 20 minutes. Yeah. So I doubt we're going to get to the cross-examination today. I'm assuming that maybe the direct will finish today. And again, I apologize. They were supposed to shut it down in 20 minutes. And I haven't had any sleep. We're going on 24 hours of no sleep right now. So I'm going to jump in the shower, throw some clothes on, drive to work, and probably sleep in the parking lot for an hour if I can. But again, apologies to the 9 million people that are here, the 740 people that are here. I am going to send you somewhere to somebody that's covering this right now. Who we've got live is who's covering this live? Who is this? Recovery Addict. I will send you over to Recovery Addict. All right. So I'm just fading. It's 5:40 in the morning here. It's time for me to move on, but I will come back. We will be back starting again an hour early. We'll be starting at 9 a.m. Yeah, 9 a.m. Eastern. Nope. That's when the normal start. 8 a.m. Eastern. My brain's foggy. We'll start you at 8 a.m. Eastern. And then we'll pick up live. We'll watch the last hour and 20 minutes at slightly accelerated speed. We'll catch up, and then we'll start day 4. So thank you very much, people. I apologize big time for having to pussy out here and bail an hour and 20 minutes early, but it's been a long day. I'll see you guys. I hope you'll come back and see me tomorrow. Forgive me for bailing early. Mods, thanks for doing it. Chat, just thanks for sticking with me. Thank you very much. And for the super chats, the monthly memberships, all that stuff. Thank you so much. Let's go on over to Recovery Addict, who is probably not falling asleep. So take care, guys. Love you, and apologies for the early bail. We'll see you tomorrow to pick up where we left off. Have a good night. Well, that's me. You guys have a good whatever it is. Bye.